Welcome everybody to High and Low, a podcast about talking picture shows.
We do films that are corny, and some that are horny, and some that win Academy Awards.
Doing all kind of movies from all kinds of genres, serving hot takes like plates of lasagna.
Before we get going, a warning to you might hear some talk that's a little blue.
We sometimes cuss and we sometimes curse. We like to do it off the cuff and don't rehearse.
Now, if this sounds like your kind of show,
Tune in.
Drop out.
This is High and Low.
You act like a pack of hounds. We were just having fun.
Welcome, boils and ghouls, to the big screamier of the High and Low House of Horrors, the #1 bloodcast for all things spooky and scary. On tonight's Hextra special episode, we're focusing on 2 witchy films, one as beautiful and delicious as a witch's potion, the other filled with unimaginable torment and dread. I'm Spook Slowbood, and these are my co-ghosts,
Mitch Hell McDisaac.
And Von Ghoul Ziola.
So, dear fiends, I must know, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Of course, I made my witch's pact. That's how you make a pact. You dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, and next thing you know, you're a witch.
Before coming to the session here, I went into my hut and prepared some ointments and liniments, and I plan to apply. I applied some to myself before coming here, and I plan to just kind of rub each of you guys up with them as we go on. So, listeners, see if you can tell who's been bewitched.
That's very nice of you. No one's ever rubbed me with liniments before. I feel like a glazed ham. It's fantastic.
Ham. Oh, sorry, I got a little bit of indigestion. I was just swallowing children earlier.
Particularly delicious this season.
That's why you look so young.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps a youthful sheen on my face, but, you know.
I gotta say, your pores have never been more taut than they are right now.
It's
But when I
amazing.
eat children, then my voice sounds like the Crypt Keeper for a minute, and then I can't help but make ghoulish puns. Anyway, I think it's wearing off.
You know, like, yeah, sometimes after I eat like a hoagie, I'll sound like Christopher Lee just because I'm trying to like get the last little bit of the meatball down or something like that.
Sometimes it goes in sideways and kind of lodges in there.
It's time to make your appointment with the meatball sub.
Do you want Parmesan on it?
You're scaring me, fellas. Please.
Gentlemen, spooky season is upon us. There's evil in the air. You can just feel it all around you. There's dark times ahead. So we're going to watch some chillers for the next little bit here.
The first annual High and Low House of Horrors.
I think it's really great because for the Halloween season, we didn't even have to redecorate the High and Low studio at all. It's already a rundown shack kind of in the woods. So we're kind of in our own little witch's shack here.
Yeah.
A lean-to, a witch's lean-to. Is that where they live?
Sometimes.
I think lean-tos, hovels, huts,
Yeah.
I think for sure. Shacks, shanties.
The witches in Hocus Pocus have a pretty nice house.
That was
yeah.
actually a gem.
It's a great area, too. It just turned out to be right in the middle of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't say what movies we're talking about today. I think I just said 2 witchy films. First up, for our high movie, we're covering 2015's The Witch, directed by Robert Eggers. His
Eggman.
feature film directorial debut.
It's a hell of a start.
It's a hell of a fucking start. And then we're going to talk about Hocus Pocus, a millennial favorite.
We all know that was a
Yeah.
big time. I'd watch it like once or twice every Halloween for a while just because it happened to be on TV.
I feel like that was one that was always, teachers would always put that on around Halloween season in elementary school when I was a kid. Like, that was my primary viewing experience with that one. And so I watched it a ton and I loved
Did
it
the
when
Christian
I was a boy.
kids have to excuse themselves from the room? The one weird kid that like isn't allowed to have sex ed class too.
Josabella, Ezekiel, you may leave.
yeah.
It was a Christian school, a Roman Catholic school, so the teacher did give a disclaimer before showing it to us and explain that witches are very bad.
Cats
well,
don't really talk.
No.
It's just a movie, children.
Well, they're Catholics, so they believe in like
Yeah.
witchcraft and
Yeah.
ghoulery, but like in a good way.
She was like, "This is what to do if you come across a witch. This is an instructional video. That's why I'm showing it to you in school."
Yeah, my school showed me
Yeah.
snuff films too, and it was really weird.
Yeah, no, my guidance counselor just took me into his office and made me watch snuff films.
Oh, I get it.
Oh, sounds like a cool guy. Rotten.com or he's like
Personal collection.
early.
So 2015's The Witch, Robert Eggers. Yeah, this he's done nothing but home runs. I've seen this movie a few times, and I like it more every time I see it. I'm pretty stoked to talk about it.
Yeah, it's I think, a minor masterpiece. Yeah, and of course he's done since then The Lighthouse, which is another one of my favorite movies of recent years. He did The Northman, which was really good, kind of a retelling of the Hamlet story, an epic, brutal fucking Viking revenge.
He's probably the current filmmaker who I am most excited for when a new movie is coming out. They're real cinematic treats.
Yeah.
In a way that feels like almost nobody else is doing right now. Like, I mean, I'll always be excited for a Quentin Tarantino movie or a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
or Martin Scorsese or something.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of the old guard at this point. And
Yeah, he's got a very, when you go to a Tarantino movie, you kind of know what you're getting in terms of Tarantino's voice, but you don't necessarily. The Eggers movies, he really serves the story in a way that it's just a real pure cinematic experience. It's pretty great.
he tells interesting stories set in very specific times.
Yeah.
And places, and he does his research so well, and he really brings that world to life. And you kind of don't see, it's pretty rare to see that much work put into a picture these days, that much thought and just everything building it together to make it as authentic as possible.
Yeah, so much authenticity and just natural beauty to his work. Yeah, and his next movie is going to be Nosferatu, coming out early next year, I think.
Hell yeah.
That's going to be sweet.
Which, I don't know. I mean, I trust him. I think we're probably in good hands, but do I really need another Nosferatu movie is kind of my take on it.
Yeah. I'm still kind of excited to see his take on Nosferatu. You've got the original 1922 Nosferatu, and then you've got like Herzog's take on it from the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
So
both really good movies.
I'll look at Eggers' take.
Yeah. And Dracula. I mean, it's the same story just told over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, Nosferatu always just has that amazing look to him, that visual, that bald with the pointy ears and everything.
It's going to look great.
It's funny because, like, people talk about Nosferatu like it's, like, the authentic Dracula or whatever, but it's really more of an off-brand Dracula.
Yeah.
They just, like, couldn't get the rights to Bram Stoker's Dracula, so that was, like, just a German invention that's just different enough.
Yeah. What if there's a guy who's a vampire who lives in a castle
and eats rats and comes over on a boat, and yeah.
Man, I watched The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and it was just like weird dissonant tones and
it's
stuff
supposed
like
to be an
that.
all-timer.
It was so creepy.
How'd you like it?
Oh, great. It was great. Yeah, it was like a Dr. Seuss town they live in, that German expressionism with all its weird angles and everything.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But our listeners don't. So they told me nobody cares about silent movies.
That's why we're doing a Disney movie this week.
But there is a much more. Yeah, we're
Here's some slop, you pigs.
Yeah, you fucking
Eat it.
pigs. Go to the trough. Fucking Disney adults.
You want us to do more mainstream stuff? Our low movies are too B, too off-brand.
Hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
Let's do whatever movies we want.
Fuck you, listeners.
To be fair, no one's ever said any of that to me, ever.
They always say it to me.
Fuck you anyways.
I've got a real big chip on my shoulder about it. But one more silent movie that we can bring up that is very much related to this movie is Haxan.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
From what is that, like 1928 or something like that?
Yeah.
Incredible silent movie, and it's all based on this kind of folktale witch imagery from Europe, from the 19th and the 18th centuries too.
I kept being reminded of it a ton while watching The Witch. There was a bunch of visuals of just the witches doing something. Like there's the witch kind of making a potion early on in The Witch, and that reminded me of a lot of the scenes in Haxan.
Well, those are just things witches do.
Yeah,
And
Haxan is like a technical manual of here is what witches do. Watch out.
yeah,
to be
it
fair,
has,
both these
like-
movies hit pretty much all the witch hallmarks, and I really have appreciated that.
It's true. Yeah.
There's like potions, they're eating kids, they're flying around on brooms, there's talking animal, like possessed animals of some kind. Like
I'm sure both of the the crews of these movies probably were required to watch Haxan before making their movie.
I doubt on Hocus Pocus that anybody's even heard of Haxan, but
we should reenact Hacks in one episode.
we can dress up like devils and
Yeah.
sacrifice babies and dance
like-
around naked.
The first ever
the
silent
podcast?
Yeah.
Hast thou lied with the devil?
Well, we would need a narrator. to
Thomason. Thomason.
Luke and Vaughn are now dancing
Where is Caleb?
naked.
Caleb, did you make a pact with the devil?
All right, let's get into this fucking movie. So, The Witch. It opens up. They call it The Witch. A New England Folk Tale is the subtitle. Yeah. So it opens up. We see kind of close-ups on the kids' faces, and there's the back of William's head. That's played by Ralph Ineson. And he's this actor. You've maybe seen him on Game of Thrones. He played Dagmar Cleftjaw.
Super recognizable face.
Yeah.
Super recognizable voice.
Yeah, he played the Green Knight as well, the titular Green Knight in that awesome fucking movie from a few years ago. The guy's voice is like the most incredible voice in Hollywood. It's deep and raspy, and
Just like a bourbon-soaked cloth being dragged over gravel. It's so textured.
well, we'll do our best to try and imitate it with my reedy, squeaky voice.
Hey guys, I'm Robert Dennison. So this movie takes place somewhere around like 1650 or 1610, like early to mid 17th century.
Yeah.
So it's before America. These are all fresh people coming over from England, and America's still a British colony at this time.
Yeah.
These are the
Early
Puritans.
colonies.
These are the guys coming over to have the first Thanksgiving, you know. Like, these are the guys who came over on the Mayflower, or their direct descendants. These are the first Europeans
Yeah.
setting foot in the Americas.
Brave new world for all these people. These
Yeah.
people have no idea what they're in store for.
And they're all fucking religious nuts. They all, they left England because England was too liberal with its religion.
Yeah.
They were like,
Which
we
is
want to go
insane.
somewhere where we can follow our strict
Puritans.
Puritanism.
And to kind of put the movie also into historical context, the European witch trials and kind of like witch craze had been going on for a couple centuries at this point, and it was just starting to catch on in the Americas. So people
It's like the British invasion.
exactly. It's a real.
Yeah.
The Beatles had just come to town, and they're singing about witches, telling people who's a witch, what to do with a witch.
This new craze. It's all the rage.
Right.
Burning witches at the stake.
Yeah, I think there's an opening with the movie. It isn't in the opening, but it does say that this is based on like real historical records. A lot of the quotes and stuff are taken verbatim from journals,
Yeah,
records.
it ends with that. It's just kind of like a
And that's what's
Nice touch.
really thrilling about Eggers. Yeah, like you guys mentioned, the attention to details. Like, he has scoured. When he made the lighthouse, he probably looked over lighthouse logs from that era. And he's a...
he went.
He's
He turned
into
into
the-
Willem Dafoe while he was researching
Yeah.
the role.
got the lowdown.
It's like, got it. They fuck mermaids. There's my movie. So, like, I recently was in Massachusetts and I did a tour of Salem. I'm going to probably try and pepper in some stuff that I learned about it in there, and did a Salem witch trial tour with a real historian who told me all about this kind of stuff. Pretty incredible place, and like incredible vibe to that town, which is, in the past 50 or so years, just kind of started like accepting that as part of their thing and becoming a tourist attraction.
Of course, if anybody's going to Salem, they want to talk witches.
Yeah, and they're not particularly proud of the witch trial history, and they've done a lot to atone for it. They have a rather moving memorial to every person that was killed, that was accused of being a witch. I think it was 20 or so people. Pretty outstanding what they've actually done there.
Witch crazes, like when there was all this fervor going on, they killed somewhere between 40 to 60,000 people over the span of like the 400 years that people started persecuting witches, and before it all kind of ended. So it was a big deal. People took it seriously.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's almost an element of comedy in The Witch. Once the witch accusation gets dropped, just how seriously, because to our modern sensibilities, if a little kid told mom and pa that sis was a witch, they'd be like, "Oh, that's cute, kid." But in this, shit gets real when those accusations start getting dropped. Like, people are taking it seriously.
Well, it's like you're just running up and telling your parents or telling somebody that your siblings just murdered a person or something. It's like
Yeah.
the most serious accusation you could level at
You're
somebody.
from a society that is just obsessed with religion and the brides of God and all this, and you're telling somebody that this person is the bride of the devil.
They've made a covenant with the devil.
Yeah.
Like something that the historian guy pointed out to us and like really tried hard to illustrate was how dark those times were, like literally dark. You know,
Once the sun goes down.
You're in New England in the wintertime or in the fall, like there's just not a lot of daylight, and like all you see is that dark woods, like and the movie does such a good job portraying that. Like, how do you not just have a head full of fear and superstition and doubt? Like, what have you done coming across the ocean to get to this fucking place where you have no idea what lies beyond? There's people out there, like there's native that probably want to kill you. There's wildlife that wants to kill you.
That's the most haunted woods ever.
It's a cruel place.
It's one of the all-time great creepy movie woods.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got your Spiderweb woods from Throne of Blood, High and Low alumni. That's a really creepy woods. You've got your, like, Fangorn forests. That's a very creepy woods from the Lord of the Rings.
You got your James Woods.
Man, it is so
That's a creepy woods.
claustrophobic when Caleb gets lost in the woods in the night and he's just like crawling through those thickets of branches.
Okay,
and
so
everything.
we used to play this game called Terror Tag, which was basically you would go to some place like a
right.
cornfield or the woods or some tall grass, and you just like play like tag or hide and go seek in the dark. And we were like full grown adults when we were doing this, and it was a lot of fun. And we tried this one time at this camping spot, and you take like 2 steps into the woods when it's dark, you're just breaking your ankles instantly. There's just deadfall everywhere. Just like kept stumbling and bumbling around in the trees, and
This is not a well manicured woods. Where this is they have fucked off from England and they have now fucked off from New England, and they are on the edge of what is known to any European.
So you guys, you know what it's like to be in pure pitch black. Like,
Yeah.
have you been in this kind? Like, I feel like it's easy to forget because
It's
it doesn't
so
happen often anymore. Most people don't live in that situation where you can't see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah. At this point, I've basically forgotten what stars look like because I've been in the city so long. Like, oh.
To bring it back to the movie, like that was another thing with this movie. It's all shot with natural light. And somehow it doesn't look dark and muddy. Like, everything is so clearly on screen.
it's all very soft and it looks nice.
Yeah, it's an incredible looking movie, but it, you know, Eggers went out of his way to make sure that the houses look the way they should look, the outfits that they're wearing look the way they should look, and the lighting.
It's-
you know, a whole family in a little cabin sitting around one little candle. That's their candle in the dark. That and their Bible, like they have nothing.
That's it. And they have a silver cup.
I was
They
wondering,
had a silver cup.
like in some of those scenes where there's just a candle lighting the whole scene, what that looked like from a technical perspective on set. Like, is that actual just natural lighting, or
Yeah, cameras have gotten good enough where you can just pick up those low light shots.
they've got some amazing some of the shots in the woods during twilight or after dark. They look so creepy, but you can so clearly see what's going on. But it looks like it's not like day for night or something weird like that. It's just it looks like nighttime, but you can actually see what's happening.
Yeah, pretty incredible cinematography. So anyway, to go back, William, he's at what appears to be the town hall or a courthouse of some sort of ramshackle thing. Basically, they're getting kicked out of the village.
Yeah, the chancellor or whoever this head asshole is at the table is not being very nice. And William's just throwing shade right back. Basically, he's like,
That's not very nice.
we're not.
That's not very nice the way you speak to me. You're not going to come to my birthday party.
You're no true Christian. I'll take my family into the woods.
This scene's really interesting because you don't see what this conflict's about. All you see is it starts off with them being exiled from their village. My impression is that it's because William is like more of a hard ass than the Puritans of this village. Like, he's more strictly biblical, like a strict literal interpretation of the Bible and stuff like that.
All you really hear from the discussion is that basically William is accusing them of just not being godly enough or whatever it is, and he doesn't, so he kind of excises himself, and it's really
he's a
this whole
fanatic.
movie's his fault. He is. And
all throughout the movie.
And we learned before long his wife is even a bigger fanatic, but she has different ways of dealing with her grief. Basically, the first line in the movie is William saying,
What went we out into this wilderness to find? Leaving our country, kindred, our fathers' houses. We travailed a vast ocean. For what? For what? Was it not for the pure and faithful dispensation of the Gospels, for the kingdom of God? I cannot be judged by false Christians, for I have done nothing save preach Christ through gospel.
must you continue to dishonor the laws of the Commonwealth and the Church with your with your prideful cancel it.
Conceit. Yeah, so then the guy's like,
I like
the
cancel.
guy's like, must you continue to dishonor the laws of the Commonwealth and the church with your prideful conceit?
Oh no, I think I nailed it.
He says, if my conscience sees it fit, then you shall be banished from these plantations' liberties.
Banished.
Yeah, and he's like, I would be glad on it.
From there, it's almost a comedy cut to them loaded up in their wagon, just traveling off into the great unknown. And I laughed out loud looking at Anya Taylor-Joy's face.
So
Thomason, the daughter.
She's Thomason, and this family, there's the husband, wife. They have 4 children, and at this point, the wife is with child.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Thomason's just staring off into the distance with a 1,000-yard stare as this chuck wagon kind of carries them bouncing on the hills.
Yeah,
into
her
the
family
wilderness.
sucks. All the people in her life suck, and she's going away from
Yeah.
any friends or any chance of doing anything
There's
with
no
her.
cute boys.
What's her
No.
life? She toils away on a farm until she gets sold off to a family so her family can eat. It sucks.
Yeah. Traded for a pig or something.
And she's old enough to know it, so she knows that it's not going to be any sort of fun time where she's going.
Very much not going to be living deliciously.
No, there's no butter where she's going.
It's a kind of a simple movie, but there's a lot of depth. It's, about religious oppression and the weird ways that kind of explodes out, and it's about family dynamics and sort of this family that's just taken away just totally on their own. These 6 characters, they're basically the only characters in this movie, and just how I don't know, the weird human foibles sort of express themselves when that happens. This weird social situation happens.
There's also an element of it's about the power of community, and when you work together with other people, you can have a fine life, but as soon as you get prideful or start thinking that, you basically like fuck around and find out.
That's William's sin as he comes to realize his
Yeah.
pride.
Yeah, we see the mother. That's Kate Dickie is the actress who plays her. You might also recognize her from Game of Thrones. She played
Lisa Aaron.
Lisa Aaron. Yeah, she was the lady who's crazy in that too.
She was also in the Green
Breastfeeding
Knight.
her big boy. Yeah.
She has a breastfeeding thing, doesn't she?
Yeah, she has Robin Aaron. He's like 10 years old. And
Yeah.
he's sucking his mommy's titty.
She's got that crow
Yeah.
here in this one.
Unusual breastfeeding.
If you need an actress to breastfeed some in an unusual
Something
way,
Yeah.
She's breastfed.
call Kate.
That's her thing.
I'm not judging anybody out there who
Hell no.
breastfeeds their 10-year-olds.
Hell, I've got some ideas myself.
Not going to tell you how to be a mother or anything. Don't worry. So, yeah, they leave the settlement by wagon at dusk. And, yeah, they just kind of arrive at the edge of the woods. And they lift their arms in prayer. And you get this big spooky vocal crescendo as we look at the woods. And it's like,
It's so great.
You get the idea that everything's going to be totally fine and everything's going to work out okay for these people.
great. We'll homestead here.
It's an amazing contrast. Them kind of joyfully giving praise, and then just this oppressive, woods that consumes the entire horizon in the background that just it zooms in on.
It's so much bigger than them.
Yeah.
And then we cut to some time later. Like, how much time has passed? Like 6 months, a year, maybe?
Yeah, about a year, I would say.
Enough time for them to have built their homestead. They've got a goat shack. They've got their house where they stay.
They got a pretty nice house. It has a loft.
Those walls are thin as rice paper, though, in there, though. If a family is arguing in there, everybody hears it.
It's so awkward. Just laying in bed listening to your parents argue.
But it is a decent homestead.
Yeah, thank goodness that never happens anymore.
Yeah.
We know how to insulate.
That didn't affect me for the rest of my life. No way.
It wasn't the arguing that bothered me.
It was the silence after. The house got so quiet then.
So Thomason, that's the eldest daughter. That's she, by the way, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who's went on. This was like her breakout, and she's had a huge career since then.
And she's good. She's great in this.
She is a maid of an age where she is reaching her womanhood.
Yeah.
And she is flowering, perhaps.
And she's like the go-to farmhand. So if anything needs to be done, Thomason's the one that they'll get to do it. She's in charge of the kids. She's always choring.
And she's also the whipping boy. If anything bad happens,
Yeah.
Mommy says, Thomason, That was very naughty what happened.
Yeah. Her mother seems to have a kind of fraught relationship with her. And, you know, she tries to be good. She's praying.
Yeah.
She's saying, I've broken every one of the commandments and thought, I know I deserve more shame and misery in this life and everlasting hellfire. But I beg thee, for the sake of thy son, forgive me, show me mercy. And that's all they're doing throughout this movie. Is just begging God for mercy.
Yeah.
They see him as such a cruel...
But
there's none to be
God.
had anywhere.
like
There's none.
this
It's just a relentlessly bleak movie.
all the religious oppression just explodes in really weird ways. Like there's weird little sexual stuff happening amongst the almost incestuous sexual stuff amongst this family,
Totally
like little
incestuous.
weird vibes. And there's just the way they talk about Jesus even or God. That's like, I wish the Lord would take me and I would be his bride. And like they get real into there's a weird kink to their religious
Knowing-
This is a
you
kink
know.
shaming movie. It's shaming them for their kinks.
Knowing God is the only joy allowed to these people. Everything
Yeah.
else that they do in their life is just grueling torment and laboring away,
Yeah.
just in the hope that they get to go to heaven. That's it. And these people don't really have much going on.
And there's also just a weird dynamic of sexuality as part of being human, but then you have these 6 family members out in the backwoods here, and so there's always a weird, tantalizing hint of sexuality amongst them, where the little brother is glancing at sister's bosoms.
Dude, buddy
or,
can't stop taking a peek.
yeah, or
Her eyes are up here, you know? It just keeps...
and she's a little, she's kind of catches him, but she's not like you perv or anything either. And then she's expected to change the vestments of the father and stuff like this. And there's kind
Thomason, go and clean thy father's breeches in the brook.
yeah, it gets a little weird out there in the backwoods.
Yeah, so she's in charge of pretty much everything. Caleb, her younger brother, is kind of learning to be the man of the house. The father takes him off and shows him the ways. And then there's these 2 twins. These are the most insufferable children we've had on this podcast since our first episode in
Beyond the Door.
Beyond the Door.
Yeah.
These kids suck so hard.
Yeah, they're fucked up.
They're you know what, they're having a good time though. They're talking to the goat, Black Phillip. They're buddies with him. He chats with them, and
I'd rather hang out with the twins from The Shining than these twins.
These kids are creepy looking.
they're a little strange. They're a little doll-like in their
Totally,
appearance.
they've like the most cherub-like faces, but they have everything about them is evil and off-putting. Robert Eggers did a great job casting and directing all of
this
the
cast
kids in
is
this movie. They all did
phenomenal.
such everybody actually, but the performances he pulls out of some of these kid actors, like Anya Taylor-Joy was 18, so young adult, and Caleb, I don't know how old he was, but they just knock it out of the park when they're called to come up.
Yeah. So Thomason's handed the baby, whose name is Samuel. She's kind of playing peekaboo with him. Peekaboo is apparently still a popular game. with
Yeah.
kids. It's been around for centuries.
It's because
I guess.
kids, when they don't see your face at that age, they think you
Yeah.
disappeared. So it's just it's
they
always
don't-
a fun game. for
They
them.
don't
That's just part
grasp
of
object
humans.
permanence. The
No.
stupid babies.
Exactly. It's great.
So
Stupid Sam.
You can
yeah,
fool
this was
them.
like a big scene in the trailers, and it's basically plays out exactly like it does in the trailers, and it right away lets you know that there's a supernatural element here, because there's no way that she wouldn't have been able to see
Yeah.
something or someone take the baby.
She's playing peekaboo, and it's goes back and forth a few times, and then one time when she takes her hands away and looks down at Sam, he's just gone, and it was half a second. So it's so eerie and unsettling.
yeah,
Well, that's a thing though, because I think there is a question mark as to whether there is an actual supernatural element to this movie. Because in this scene, she's doing the peekaboo, the baby disappears, and then it cuts to a scene of a witch doing an evil ritual. An old hag.
She's like making an ointment out of the baby's blood to make
Yeah.
a levitating potion so she can fly.
She's naked, and she's got like gnarly hands, and we see her put a knife to the baby, and we see her like flat butt as she's like plugging away on it.
She's
there's
gonna
some-
eat this baby.
Some primo flat butt in this movie.
That's the impression I got. She wants to eat the baby.
Yeah, and but then they also like show her rubbing herself with a bunch of blood and
So
stuff.
I mean,
it's
you could say that
horrifying.
But
you could make a case that there isn't
Well-
actually witch in this movie, but it doesn't really matter.
no, but immediately the scene immediately following this is Thomasin wakes up in bed from a nightmare. So that whole witch scene could have been her having a nightmare, trying to rationalize in her mind. Maybe she was just a forgetful teenager and put the baby down in the woods and a wolf ran off with it. And now in her mind, the worst possible supernatural scenario, a bride of the devil has gotten her little brother and, gutted it with a knife or something.
That absolutely could be. I mean, in her mind's eye, she even sees like a raven silhouette on the full moon as this is happening. And like, those ideas are planted in her head.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. But
that's part of what I really love about this movie is there seems to be just like a lot of depth and a lot of room for interpretation in the story. There's like, a simple framework, but then there's a lot of room to delve down.
So yeah, she's sleeping, having that nightmare, and we see Caleb kind of having a peek at her bosoms before he wakes her. Bosoms.
This one I've
Thomasin, do up thy shift.
At first, I wasn't sure. I was like, it kind of looks like he's peeking at the cleavage here, but it could just be an innocent,
He is quite innocent, and he loves his sister, and they actually have a good relationship. He's like, Thomasin, all will be well. Sleep, like she's restless, and he just it's like, go back to sleep and relax. Like he knows.
She's having her witch nightmare.
They're kind to one another, these two. Yeah, he goes outside, and his father's kneeling in the pasture. Caleb's like, God give you good morrow. All are still abed.
William goes, 'Tis no ease to rise on a grey day. The devil holds fast your eyelids.
You immediately know everything you need to know about this guy. This would just be the most miserable existence being this guy's kid. Where he's like, if you sit down for a second and warm yourself by the fire, he's like, 'tis the devil making you sit
Dad,
by
do you want to
the
have a
fire."
catch? Balls of the devil's play toy.
Yeah, not everything could be of the devil, Dad.
Did thou touch a ball? Did thou kick a ball?
Tell me true.
Obviously, they'd been looking for the baby. The mother hasn't been sleeping. Everybody's upset. He's like, we can search no more. And he tells them they're going to go hunting in the woods because the crops will not last the winter.
So, yeah, they're getting rotten corn in their crops, and he's not much of a farmer anyhow.
No.
So they've got to hunt. Turns out he's shit at that, too.
He's shit at that, too. I know. He would not make it very far on alone.
Yeah, he dragged his family out here. He wants to play Survivor, man. He wants to eat leeches from under the rocks, but now his family's in the thick of this thing, and
he's basically having a midlife crisis, and he just wants to go and prove himself and prove that he's not a worthless sack of crap.
We will not let this wilderness consume us.
Yeah. So I just love the dialogue in this movie and the way it's spoken.
It's great. The dynamics are great. This whole the tension in this family as they are just everything is going wrong for them. Their crops are failing. Their interpersonal relationships are failing.
They're turning on each other.
Yeah.
It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, but he takes him hunting, and he's quizzing him on what a horrible sinner he is. It's just like fun father-son bonding time. And he's got questions like,
recite your Bible, Caleb.
Canst thou tell me what thy corrupt nature is?
Tell
My
me your
corrupt nature
sins.
is empty of grace, bent unto sin, only until our sin, and that continually.
Good boy, you disgusting creature.
yeah, and then
you are a
Caleb's,
sinner.
yeah, like as though this isn't abusive, but then Caleb asks him, he's like, was Samuel born a sinner too?
And he's like, Aye, we pray that he is gone to the kingdom of heaven. But 'tis God alone and not a man who decides who is good and evil.
Yeah, you see how traumatized Caleb is by this religious indoctrination where he just bursts out crying. He's like, but Samuel hasn't been baptized, so he's going to burn in hell for all eternity. And
He is.
Just how
And his father doesn't mind telling him.
No, we don't know, man. Maybe
Yeah.
he's burning in hell. We don't know. I haven't been
Probably
there.
burning in hell.
This is his Caleb's first experience with the harsh truths of his life and how he's being brought up and kind of like the reality of the world he lives in. where,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if wee baby Sam passed, then he's going to burn in hell for all eternity.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal, but he kind of takes it in stride. He kind of changes the subject, and he's like, basically, he's like, oh, so where'd you get the money to buy these hunting tools?
I sold thy mother's cup. Yeah, it's
Thy
interesting.
mother's silver cup.
Everybody is so puritanical in this, but they are all sinners at the end of the day. Like they end up lying to the mother about this silver cup. You know it's going to be a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's like your most prized possession if you're living, 300, 600 years ago.
They have nothing else nice.
That was the only thing.
Yeah.
It was her father's cup too.
So
My
meanwhile,
grandfather gave me that cup.
yeah.
Thy father's cup.
Thy father's cup.
'Twas I came. I sold thy father's silver cup.
So meanwhile, we see Thomasin. She's doing chores around the homestead. It's like a really desolate place. She gets an egg from a hen and drops it, and sees it's like fertilized and has like a bloody fetus inside it.
There's
Kinda looks at it.
Every time there's food in this movie, it's just rotten and abysmal. Like
Well,
it's inedible.
do you guys think this is symbolic of something? Maybe the mother is pregnant at this time, isn't she?
No, she's already had the. Oh, is she pregnant? No.
I don't think she's pregnant again.
Yeah.
She was pregnant with
Okay,
Samuel.
Sam. Oh, and Sam died. So maybe it's representative of the chick dying,
Her rotten womb.
her rotten womb making a.
I mean, it sounds
her
rude
womb
to
is
say,
fine.
but like everything else, like the seeds don't yield good crops. Like everything they sow just turns to shit.
Yeah.
And, like
Including their whole
Including-
new life that they had planned.
like everything. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, Fowler is the name of the dog.
He's a good dog.
They're out on the hunt, and he picks up the scent of a hare.
Blast it, Fowler!
Yeah. So they get a good look at this hare, and it's just kind of staring at them, and it's, praise be to God. And they're kind of dicking around with this flintlock rifle. and-
It's obvious that Williams never used a rifle before, or he's like, it's something he saw somebody do in town once or something. He doesn't know what he's doing.
fucking inept with this thing.
Yeah, this is not like an AR-15. This thing is like you have to like attach a shoelace, like a 6-foot shoelace, into the top of it, and then light it, and then I guess that goes down. And
Yeah, it's
there's-
like a Looney Tunes gun
Yeah,
where
there's,
there's
like,
a comical-
powders.
I don't even understand how that wick works.
it's like a game of snakes and ladders, and then it just explodes in his face, and
Blast it, Caleb.
Yeah, like he
Help
just,
me forge some pellets.
And he's
Build
like-
a fire. We'll melt the steel down here.
thou did not forge the pellets right.
It's like exactly a Looney Tunes cartoon for a minute. With like fucking Elmer Fudd just getting the gun in his eye and his black around his eyes.
His hair sticking up.
very, very quiet, Caleb. There's a wabbit up ahead.
Cursed thee, Caleb. I'll get that cursed bunny yet.
And so, yeah, William takes his gun and he shoots it. And again, like a Looney Tunes cartoon, it blows up in his face. And the rabbit's just giving him like a little fuck you stare and then runs off.
Yeah,
away.
he's leaning on a tree,
Yeah.
nibbling on a carrot. Just-
Yeah.
What does this rabbit represent? Because he pops up throughout the rest of this movie.
The rabbit is just one of the witch's familiars, is kind of how I don't know what it represents, but
is it the devil?
so back like
is
back
there
then
devilry?
witches, people thought just like any animal could be associated with a witch. Like
Yeah.
witches used animals for their familiars, and it wasn't just a cat or maybe a rat or a bat. You know, any of the
Yeah.
ats, they could use rabbits and
Oh,
goats, any of that stuff.
what kind of animal would you guys use for your familiar?
I want a goat, man.
Yeah.
I love that fucking goat. in
It's
this
got
movie.
horns.
Goats are good. I'd like a snake. I think if I could, maybe if the climate wasn't so cold, I'd like
Oh,
to send it on covert missions, things like that.
Those are really good devil animals. I want like an opossum because that could play dead. So if you're a devil that wants to play dead, you could do that. That's pretty good adaptation.
Well, yeah, now that you mentioned, if I was a devil, I'd want to be one that plays dead, because then you just get to sleep more.
Yeah, chill
Wouldn't-
out.
Nobody would expect much from you.
Yeah, which one's hibernate? I want to be one of those.
Oh, bear devil.
Is that's that new Marvel show? Daredevil. It's a blind bear, but he's just as ferocious. Oh
Jennifer Garner's back.
my god, that bear eviscerated Jennifer Garner.
So now we finally meet the twins, Jonas and Mercy. And
They're
they're chasing the goat around, the real star of this movie, Black Phillip. the
Black
goat.
Phillip.
And they're singing this song. Let's sing it together, Vaughn.
Let me just get to the. Sam was born a sinner.
Black Phillip,
It says God alone. Flintlock rifle. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Black Phillip, a crown grows on his head. Black Phillip, loud flint, to nanny queen is wed. Jump to the fence post. Black Phillip, king of all. Black Phillip, king of sky and land. Black Phillip, king of sea and sand. We are your servants, we are your men.
Black Phillip eats the lions from the lion's den.
Yeah.
That's a good song. It's a long song.
It's awesome.
I love Black Phillip, man. He's the king of the sea and the sand.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the mumble rap remix.
Yeah.
Black Phillip.
I'm gonna remix that for sure.
I mean, Black Phillip is this big black goat with like these horns that come out of his head. They're like at least 5 feet long. They're as long as he is
They're
long.
huge. This thing is imposing. Apparently, he was a terror.
Yeah,
on
I was
the
just going to
set,
say,
too.
he
Yeah.
was not kind to work. You know, goats, they're renowned for being,
They're
you know,
funny.
easygoing, and they'll do kind of whatever you want. But he was pretty stubborn. This Black Phillip was stubborn as a Billy.
I love animals that have a little bit of character to them. You know, a billy goat, like an animal, a camel, he'll spit at you. I like an animal that has some
attitude.
Spunk.
Yeah, like an animal from the streets.
What animal will spunk at you?
Oh, an ape, a human, the most dangerous animal of all.
Did I tell you at the time I was in Thailand and I saw 2 monkeys fucking, and I just stood and watched because I'd never seen that before in my life, and it was awesome.
And they looked at you, and they
Well, yeah, like the dude monkey looked over at me and then just like jumped off and just started like walking over me, like real imposing, and like, basically told me to fuck off in his monkey sign language.
Oh man, they weren't looking for a third.
Well,
Do
she
you
was
remember
kind of giving me the side eye.
Do you remember the time we were at our buddy's place and this couple started making out on a hill in front of his house, and we were in his backyard doing some yard stuff, and then we just like went to the side of the house and we were watching this couple on the hill there just like making love or whatever, and
Making love or whatever.
and they got
They
up
were
and they
going
got
at
really
it.
offensive.
Dude,
They
yeah,
got-
buddy crossed the
they got
street,
right in
or he
our
like
face.
walked up to the edge of the street, and he was like yelling at us from across the street, with like his shirt off and shit. He's like,
It's like, excuse me, sir, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy in front of my friend's house. We can watch you. We can record you if we want.
Were they fucking? They
They were-
actually fucking?
they were getting, they were,
They were going to if they hadn't noticed us there.
yeah, they were like,
Looking at him.
shirts off, fucking fondling, really getting everywhere.
I've done the outside fuck once or twice.
This was
It-
not a
it's
good
like-
spot for it.
You know what? It doesn't matter. If you're doing the outside fuck and someone sees you, that's on you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
Anytime I did it, hey, that's a treat for somebody if they see it, or you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
or they can look the other fucking way.
That's what I told that monkey. I said, "That's on you, man. That's on you." And then
But he kept
he
flexing
ripped
his
my
biceps.
genitals out and tore my face to shreds.
Stuff your dick in your mouth,
So that's how that happened.
Sorry if I'm a
wanna
little
ask.
mumbly today.
where it remains to this day. So Caleb and father, they come back and wrangle Black Phillip back into his pen, and mother comes out and chides everyone. Thomason's not watching the twins, and she's like, "They pay me no mind." And father and Caleb, they took off, and she's mad at them for that.
Can't a father spend godly time with his son?
Yeah, Caleb says that they were looking for an apple tree, and it was going to be a surprise, which I guess is a white lie.
I thought I saw apples. I thought I saw apples in the woods, and then we could get them and we could eat them. We wouldn't starve for winter, Pop, Mother.
It's actually in a normal family dynamic. It's almost a sweet moment where a kid is telling a white lie to defend his father to the mother, but in the face of the puritanical religious beliefs of this family, telling a lie is like shitting in Christ's mouth or something. So, like in a way, it's like it's so naughty that he just did this, but the father is also kind of relieved that he did this. So this religious oppression is just
He's
working weird shit on this
Yeah,
family
And he
Anything
plays
dynamic.
it
to
so
bring the
weird.
tension
Edison plays
down.
it so weird because he's relieved, but also he's like, "Oh, my son is sinning for me." Like he has this weird guilt that kind of comes into him
Exactly.
right
He's
now.
damned himself on my account.
Caleb will go to spend his eternity in hell.
William- William-
Caleb's hellbound.
And then they'll have these weird like
William is prideful, but like he does love his children.
Very
and
much
he
so.
is trying, and he does have more forgiveness in his heart for them than even their mother does.
He's
he's the cool dad.
he kind of does a bit of lying through omission, but he also does look out for Thomason in particular because he recognizes that she gets a particularly hard time from Kate. But
yeah.
Which
you know,
which becomes kind of a circular thing because the mother notices Thomason getting attention from the dad, which makes her maybe harsher on Thomason too.
Everybody's actions, it's so toxic what's going on in this family. Every little action just sows more seeds of doubt and distrust and like anger, or all these negative feelings towards the rest of their family, and eventually just destroys them. It's so
It's an amazing movie.
so
It's fucking bleak. So Caleb goes to the brook to fetch water, and his sister's there. She's been directed to scrub her father's
okay,
wolves.
so we glazed over this part. So
yeah,
William
this is
comes back to
weird.
the farm with Caleb, and Black Phillip's kind of like running amok, and he's out. So William has to wrestle Black Phillip into the pen, and he's saying something like, "Thou have released this ungodly beast on the farm."
yeah.
Twins, mercy. What have you done? And so he's like getting Black Phillip into the pen, and then he gets him in, and then he just slips and falls. And this happened to me the other day. I slipped and fell in the mud. He just gets mud all over his trousers, and
Yeah.
What were you chasing a goat?
I was taking the kids for a walk down to the river valley, and I was pointing out there's like a water downfall, like where you could see like obviously this is where water goes, and you could see where other people slip. So I pointed out to the kids, I'm like,
Don't
watch
walk
out for
there."
that, be careful there. And then I'm like, fucking just biff it, and
Could be a beaver slide or something too. You got to watch out for those. Beavers just slide down the mud right into the river or whatever.
oh hell yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
That sounds fun as hell. Beaver slides.
Sounds gross.
But we're talking about the witch. There's no fun in this
No
movie
fun
whatsoever.
to be had. So now the mother, Kate comes out, and this whole thing goes down, and then it's always Thomason's fault. Thomason, go down to the brook and wash thy father's breeches.
Oh, Thomason is being idle here, standing around gabbing her mouth when there's work to be done. And I think it's great that Kate chastised her.
Do you have any idea what it takes to run a homestead?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be going.
Idle hands are the devil's tool.
If there's daylight, they're out there because you
So-
can't work at night. That's also the devil's tool.
There's like a weird scene where Thomason undresses William now, where she's like, Kate's like, take thy father's frock off this instant, and then Thomason's like undresses William, and then
It's not naked.
it's not, but
No,
there
but
is like a kind of weird.
It's a slow undressing. The way
Yeah.
it's all stitched up. I don't even think they had buttons at the time, so it's just the
There's-
whole thing is kind of drawn out by necessity.
In
And
the
there's
s-
this weird tension that hangs in the air while it's
like in the
happening.
same way that Caleb subtle glancing at Thomason's bosom earlier, like that, like a half-second weirdness. There's almost that happening in this scene.
And so yeah, now they go over to the brook, and Thomason's scrubbing away at the britches, and the twins come up, and Caleb's are there too. All the kids are there. They're having a gab at the brook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caleb looks at her chest again while she's scrubbing the britches, but
This is a little
he
more
kind of sits in her
obvious.
lap, and she embraces him, and they're like sweet to each other. He starts tickling her, and then they're just being like a normal brother and sister here. It's like one of the few almost nice moments in the movie.
Yeah, it's totally harmless fun, and it's
and-
the only time anybody actually has fun. It's like they're like laughing, and that's it. There's nothing else in this movie in this
They're-
miserable
yeah,
existence these people live in.
Yeah, and then these twins come, the little
The
devil
little-
fucking
the
creatures,
shits.
demons.
and ruin it.
Little shit twins.
Yeah, Mercy interrupts. She's like, Black Phillip saith I can do what I like. And Thomason's like, devil take your Black Phillip. And then Mercy's like, I saw a witch in the woods in her riding cloak. And
Mercy's digging it into Thomason here for losing the baby, which Thomason is fairly traumatized over.
Yeah.
She
She's
feels
having
really bad
nightmares
about
over.
it.
being a real dick about
Yeah,
it.
and Mercy's basically like, oh, well, I saw Black Phillip told me a witch took Sam into the woods and bashed his head with a stick.
Aye, 'twas a witch you speak, all right. It was I. 'Twas I what stole him. I be the witch of the wood. When I sleep, my spirit slips away from my body and dances naked with the devil. He bade me bring him an unbaptized babe, so I stole Sam and I gave him to me master. And I'll vanish thee too, if thou displeaseth me.
Puts
Yeah.
Mercy in her place.
She just tackles Mercy down, and Mercy's crying out. And she's like, if thou tells mother, I'll witch you and her too.
Dude,
Yeah.
she goes hard on Mercy here, but Mercy fucking deserves it.
Fucking had it coming.
And it is like a normal sibling spat,
Yes,
but
totally.
with the backdrop of, oh, there is a dead sibling involved, and just like an accusation of witchcraft is deadly serious in these times.
Yeah,
like
it is
And-
normal siblings fighting, but yeah, there is an underpinning of unimaginable horror
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
around them and within what's going on here.
Thomason is turning it around on Mercy by saying, "Oh yeah, there was a witch involved, and I'm the witch."
Yeah, she's being pretty
But-
flippant about it. and that's-
Yeah, Caleb's in the background saying like, "She jests," but it's gonna pop up.
So now it's dinner time, and they're having prayers, and they're splitting a small amount of bread. Mother asks Thomason, like, "What's thou do with the silver cup? Didst thou lose it?" And she's like, "I haven't touched it." "Did a wolf vanish that too?"
William's such a pussy.
She hath not touched it, Catherine.
He should
defends
confess
Thomason.
now.
Catherine just kind of like breaks down again, like, just, "What is amiss on this farm? 'Tis not natural."
Her one prized possession, her silver cup.
She's 2 bottles of Chardonnay away from having just like a suburban midlife crisis here.
Yeah, you've seen her. She'll just be in the while Thomason's doing household chores around the homestead. She'll just be in bed screaming prayers and screaming about "Am I not thy child, Lord? Am I not thy child?"
The worst roommate.
It's horrific.
The worst person in the family, probably. Like, just I don't want to say she's a bad person, but like, she is completely consumed by grief.
Yeah.
She's having a
and
crisis.
anger.
Of
She's
faith.
taking
sadness.
She's
and-
taking it out on Thomason in particular.
Yeah.
William a little less so, but
Yeah, and William's like, "Caleb, will thou read out a chapter of the word tonight?
it's like in
We
The
must
Simpsons.
find some light in our darkness."
It's like in The Simpsons when Kurt and Luann Millhouse's parents are fighting, and Marge's like, "Kids, come in here, sing a song." And they just like get the kids out to just like cut the tension in the room.
Exactly.
Oh, there it is. You got the kids reading scripture. Good job, kid. Good job.
That's like their only form of entertainment. Like reading. That's the only book they have, probably the Bible.
It's pretty
Yeah.
great that they can read.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This day and age- in that time.
They are Protestants. That's what they got to do, is read their own fucking Bibles. Yeah. They hear the goat is out again. So, like, at the light in the darkness thing, like, that's a big theme in the movie, by the way. Like, I don't know if you guys know Carl Sagan's book.
Candle in the dark, science.
Yeah, like, the whole theme of it
The
is,
demon
like,
haunted world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
demon haunted world, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the theme of this movie. Like, this whole world, when you have no illumination, you can't illuminate any of those corners. You can't see what's not in your field of vision. Like, all you see is demons. All of it's populated in your head is just fear, it's superstition.
Yeah.
And like, you have just this one little candle in the darkness, and in this case, it's the Bible. That's your candle in the darkness. And of course, Carl Sagan's book, he argues that science can be a candle in the darkness, right? But it's
Even,
exactly the
like,
theme.
In our modern times, nowadays, I'll find that my mind fills in the blanks for things I don't understand, and then when I actually think rationally about it, I'm like, oh wait, no, this is just like a total magical thinking thing I have in my head about the way the world works.
What happened to my leftover hoagie? Must have been circus cannibals.
Yeah, your mind just fills in the blanks in
just
weird
playing-
ways.
Just playing peekaboo with a hoagie. And it vanishes. Where did my lunch go? Hoagie! Hoagie!
Your father hasn't slept since his lunch been stolen.
What is amiss? The Lord hath cursed this place.
All I'm doing is just
Your
sitting bolt
coworker
upright in
stole it.
bed, screaming my prayers over my lost hoagie.
So you can see how a society dedicated to hoagies, who doesn't quite understand hoagies, could build upon each other's crazy superstitions.
Hoagies beget hoagies, and then maybe you have sliders, and then hero sandwiches. Anyways,
What new witchery is this? Italian dressing?
Man,
I would not eat the dressing of a Roman Catholic.
shredded lettuce is the devil's play food.
Heretics. All.
you know, there was just a ruling.
Jared from Subway. Heretic.
A taco is now legally a sandwich. Did you guys know that? There
What
was
is
just
Legally, a
Legally, what do you
sandwich.
mean?
there was a court ruling in the States. A taco is legally a sandwich.
Well, not here in Canada, buddy. Not here.
Was it some lunatic on a tennis court? What kind of court ruling was it?
they didn't go into details, but I got the bulletin.
I'm picturing
An
the
insider
tribunal from the first scene of this movie. A bunch of Puritans standing there. Is indeed a taco, not a sandwich.
I will
taco.
not live my life in a colony that will not have a taco as a sandwich. Thou art false before thy God.
A taco shall never be a sandwich. That would be William's stance.
Right.
A taco will never be a sandwich.
Then I will gladly self-exile.
What's next? A gordita crunch.
For him, a sandwich probably goat and corn between bread.
Just like
That's
a
like-
goat leg between two cobs of corn.
That's all he has access to. Legally, a sandwich is a goat between two corns.
He just eats the whole cob like it's a carrot.
There's
It's so funny
valuable
how
calories in this cob.
groups will splinter and fracture over bullshit like that. Where
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, actually, I think a goat in between corn is a sandwich.
I think you shouldn't eat the cob.
And that's why we settled in Connecticut,
Yeah, Shelbyville.
Nebraska.
Here we marry our cousins.
So the goat got out again. Thomason volunteers to go put him away. William's going to do it, and Thomason's like, no, I got this.
I'm the goat gal. I deal with the goats.
She's the goat gal.
Yeah,
got
and then
it.
she sees the evil rabbit in the enclosure just staring at her.
She's the goat greatest of all time gal. Shit, I fucked that up. No, she's the greatest of all time goat gal. I hate when I mix up the act.
That's like
Okay, anyway, so while Thomason is bringing Black Phillip in, she notices that hair, that Bugs Bunny comes back again and just kind of stares her down.
What's up, Doc?
yeah, the one who teased Caleb and William in the woods earlier, and the gun exploded in William's face. Same rabbit.
Yeah. So all the time while things are going on at the homestead here, there's these omens, weird spooky stuff is going on. Or maybe it's just a rabbit there and people are just all...
Yeah, again, it skirts the edge of that. It's suspicious enough to be that like a supernatural take on the events that are happening here, but it's also vague enough to be just the paranoia of this family going through this crisis, manifesting in these ways where they're going a little crazy and
Yes,
seeing things happening.
It's all manifesting around them. You're right. It's like an atmospheric slow burn. It's not. There's no jump scares in this movie. I don't think.
No, they go a little ham with some of the music cues and things like that, but for the most part, it just plays out slowly, and the dreadful atmosphere just washes over you. You know, it's like the tide's coming in. It's nothing good, and that water's coming up, and you just by the end of it, you're up to your eyeballs.
And it's such a, it's a pretty short but sweet movie. It is like an hour and a half long, and it's just like tense throughout, and it builds perfectly. It's almost perfectly paced.
Oh yeah, totally.
It really is almost what a movie is meant to be in my mind, where it's like they explore this theme, there's room for the audience to interpret certain things, and it's a cinematic experience that's, succinct. It does what it's trying to do really well.
There's some very off-putting imagery when it happens, and it works. It's effective.
It's great.
I'd say it's effective. It's effective. It's effective movie.
I think it's a pretty
Not
effective movie.
Not bad.
So William, he's trying to comfort Catherine, who's in the throes of grief, and he's like,
He hath never taken a child from us. Who might earn such grace?
Just like, we haven't lost a kid up until now, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good, right? Like,
yeah, and she's like, he hath cursed this family. We should never have left the plantation. There's naught hither. And he's like, and what need we? Silver chalices?
Yeah, she gets into it.
quit it about the silver cup,
Like
Catherine.
she didn't. She is not upset about the silver cup being missing because she's vain and she loves her nice silver cup. She is thinking about the family, and she's thinking that she could have sold it to get some money for the family. And this is where you're kind of seeing the dynamic between them for the first time too, where you see that she's sort of having this crisis of faith, where she thinks the family's cursed. She's doubting her religion and her belief in God, and he is just still like fully blind faith, all into it.
Yeah,
Like, the God will provide.
So they're having this argument, and they're like, we must be quiet. The children are here. And the children are like 3 feet away listening as
Yeah.
she's saying, our daughter hath begat her sign of womanhood. She's old enough now. She must serve another family. And
Yeah.
then like the mom is screaming, and you see like Caleb and Thomason listening, and she's like, our corn is trash. Our Sam is in hell.
Yeah.
We will starve.
Our family is doomed. Doomed, I tell you.
Yeah, and just like Lou said, the kids are 3 feet away. They're up in the loft, and
They're all awake. The entire rest rest of the family is awake listening 3 feet away through a rice paper thin wall.
After this big fight goes on, sometime later, the parents are asleep. Caleb goes out to the stables, and Thomason comes up, and they have a bit of a confrontation. And she wants to know where he's going, and he's not. He's being cagey about it. He's not telling her.
And he's like, ask her to be silent. He's like, if thou will keep silent and let me leave, then I promise you'll not need to serve the Tildons or anybody else. I'll be back by midday. The Tildons would be somebody at the village.
Let me along.
Presumably would sell Thomason
Let me along.
To.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to be let along.
Let me along.
Let me.
She's pretty convincing.
She just keeps saying, "Let me along."
Let me along, Caleb.
And then she's like, "Lest I wake father and mother."
Typical.
What is his
retort.
stupid plan here? Because he overheard the parents arguing in the night that
He's going hunting.
Well, he's going to
He's gonna go
get a
check-
rabbit out of a trap.
Yeah.
And I guess he, in his child mind, he's like, this will solve our family's problems
Yeah.
once I get this rabbit out of the snare, and Thomason won't have to go live with the other family.
It's exactly
And-
what a kid like that would think.
Yeah, true enough. He's like, and the Lord will provide. I read it in scripture.
I mean, at least he's trying, and
Thomason-
they do ensnare some varmint.
I saw a rabbit in the woods, Thomason. You got to believe me. Next to the apple tree.
Yeah, so
Liar.
then they find that hare again, and Fowler takes off running, the dog, and the horse that Thomason's sitting on panics, and Caleb chases it, and Thomason falls off the fucking horse, and then it kind of cuts the scene there.
It becomes a pretty scary scene all of a sudden, like a Hansel and Gretel scenario.
Yeah.
These two kids alone in the woods at night, and Thomason gets knocked out. Caleb's in it over his head.
Yeah, it's dawn,
Yeah.
basically.
Cut to Caleb walking along, and he finds Fowler disemboweled.
Yeah, he's like reciting prayers and stuff. He's completely lost.
Which what happens to Caleb from here on out is very mysterious. We don't know what happened to Fowler here. We don't know why he's disemboweled. I think a rational viewpoint might assume that like a wolf got him or something.
If a wolf got him, he would have eaten him.
Yeah, he's just lying there disemboweled. It must be he was bewitched.
Just a bit. Fowler's bewitched.
And
Aye, 'twas I. I bewitched Fowler. I put a spell on him.
Thomason got knocked out when she fell off the horse, so she's kind of blanked out for an hour or whatever this gap of time is here. So she doesn't know what happens to Caleb.
It's interesting that the next time that we see the witch, Thomason is also unconscious.
Yeah,
That-
and the first time we see the witch is kind of
She
we
wakes up
can
from a
intuit
nightmare.
it's from her dream, from a nightmare she's
Okay,
having.
I'm buying more into the possibility that there may not be a witch, but again, like Luke said, it doesn't really matter to the story.
Yeah, exactly. It represents something to Thomason, like a certain freedom from this religious oppression that just
Thomason just wants to go make ointments, brew potions,
make a liniment.
have a
Float.
fire in her life, have a bonfire.
Can
so
you imagine
all the while,
levitating?
oh, I love it.
Back then, that would be like there's no roller coasters back then. If you're levitating, that's like
I feel like we've neglected talking about William's favorite pastime, so I'm just going to throw it in here. So all the while, every time he gets grief, he gets like backtalk from his wife or his kids or whatever, he just goes out and just starts chopping wood.
Yeah.
William's just chopping wood all the livelong day, and it's really the 17th century equivalent of like the angry dad just going out and drinking beer in the garage.
Yeah.
yeah,
like, he's
This
just
is
like,
therapy.
He's a guy of few words. He doesn't know how to deal with these complicated interpersonal dynamics that are happening. So when shit gets a little too real, he just goes out to the wood block and just starts chopping wood, just venting all his aggression and frustration. Just
They didn't
smashing
have
wood.
BetterHelp. Please,
No.
please sponsor us. he hadn't like road mapped out his trauma or anything like that.
No,
all of
This
my
is
therapy
all-
is the axe.
he's like, my kid died. He might be burning in hell because I'm a crazy Puritan. So I'm just gonna go chop wood.
William, we never have a fire. It's always dark here. We need to save wood for the winter, Kay.
His wood pile is hilarious because by the end of the movie, his wood pile is just higher than the house is. Just
It really becomes a metaphor.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just him stacking up his emotional issues.
Yeah, don't want to spoil that metaphor just yet, but yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so William is beset upon by the witch.
Caleb.
Caleb, He finds the witch's hovel.
Sexy lady
Oh.
steps out.
Yeah,
like
a
a
total.
Red Riding Hood.
Yeah,
And she's got cleavage popping out of her.
She's got the corset like Jessica Parker in the next movie.
Man. And
she's
he's like,
a total dime.
cleavage,
Like
man.
she's a beauty queen from she was a Miss something or other at one point.
I'm
She's-
like, hell yeah, go in there, man.
yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
man.
What else do you have going for you?
Fuck yeah, I would.
She's like one of those teachers you read about nowadays. You know those lady teachers? They're always molesting those students.
Sorry, what?
Caleb's a little boy, but
Maybe choke on my beer.
Yeah, so Chris Hansen's just waiting around the corner.
but yeah, she like lifts up her like skirt a little bit and shows a little leg to Caleb, and yeah, there's a sexual enticement element happening here.
Yeah, she leans in to kiss him.
She's got yabos out to here.
Yeah, and like we see her hand go behind his back, and then it
Thomasons
turns
don't
into
look
the
like
hag
that.
hand.
It's a really good effect where like the big like ghouly witch hand just touches Caleb's face.
Yeah, that's almost a little bit of a jump scare. Maybe one of the few in this movie is just when that old hand shoots out and grabs him from behind the head and yanks him in.
Yeah. So then now he's missing, and father decides to go to the town for help. He has no dog now. He has no rifle. Another one of his sons is missing, and he's like, so he's planning to ride. It's fucking nighttime, and the family's like, don't go. And he's like, the moon is out, and the rain bothers me not. I'll be back in a 2-day if anyone rides with me. And
Dies of common
Yeah.
riding in the rain.
he then confesses that yesterday he took Caleb to the wood. And Kate's like, you've broken God's covenant. You're a liar. Will you be lost in the woods too? Will Jonas be the man of the house? Will you damn your family to death?
She
real
slaps
harsh.
him in this, like she gives him a full-on slap across the face, and
Yeah, so he ends up staying for the night, and basically Thomason finds Caleb outside before too long, and it's raining, and he's naked. He just kind of collapses, and she picks him up, and they take him inside.
what
And
what
they
the
cut his
fuck
face.
happened to this kid? What like
A witch, man.
do you think
He lived
You
deliciously.
think there's a rational explanation?
why would he have his clothes off if not a witch? Well, okay.
I mean, the only other person out in the woods with him was Thomason.
Here's something I'm thinking is I did a little paper on the witch trials, and apparently some of this witch stuff can be blamed on like poison,
hemlock or
rye
something.
poisoning.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the rye got fungus on it and started to make people hallucinate. Maybe a kid gets some kind of weird hallucinations going on in the woods, gets a fever going on, takes his clothes off. You've got paradoxical undressing for mountain climbers when they go up and they're really cold. They start taking their clothes
Yeah,
off.
and they have
Well, yeah,
late
yeah.
stage
he's out
hypothermia.
in the wilderness, exposed to the elements, and it's raining. Like he's probably hypothermic.
Yeah, like maybe he's all feverish and he's having a paradoxical undressing, and
That could be, actually.
I like
But
it being
he's-
a witch.
but at the
But
end
like
of the day,
with the Salem story, like some of what I remember about it was there was this man in town. He was pretty well to do, and his daughters were acting crazy. They were acting like they were possessed, like going around on all fours, shrieking at all hours of the night, doing really weird stuff.
Which
and
the
maybe
younger
they were
kids-
fucked up by something. And what they did is they blamed their servant, who is from Barbados.
figures.
Was that Tituba?
Fucking figures.
Yeah, Tituba.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her name.
She was one of the first 3 people to be
Oh,
blamed in the witch
Yeah,
trials.
and she confessed under
Yeah.
duress. She confessed. She was like the first, maybe, or only person to confess to witchcraft.
And what happened? Like, if you confessed while they're doing their tortures, or while they're interrogating you,
Yeah,
Turns out you'll confess to anything if
well,
they
if you-
shove metal rods
if
under
you
your
can-
fingernails. It's amazing.
dude, if that's like. That's not even shit like that isn't even the torture for witch trials in Europe. That's like what they do to make sure your soul is clean enough
Yeah.
to be tortured proper.
That's how they investigate
it-
for the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
Like, do you have it under your fingernails?
But in Salem, anyways, and like in the American witch trials, if you confessed early, they would actually probably just let you go. But it's like once they started torturing you, then they're like, oh, the devil's really strong in you, and then like your brain just becomes addled, and you become a witch, and then you blame other people.
Start speaking in tongues, your tongue lolling out.
But
and
Tituba was
sweating.
hilarious. She's like, yeah, I was possessed by the devil. I made a covenant. He was a big, black, hairy devil. And it's just like fucking taking them all for a ride.
And he had purple eyes and green claws.
she-
He was amazing.
but alas, she was hung.
yeah.
Yeah, fascinating story. Really cool. So they take Caleb inside and they bleed him. They cut his face.
Yeah, to get the toxins
Some
out.
bleeding. They bleed him like he's a pro wrestler.
They kind of
Just
turn
blade
into
him
a
on
little.
the eyebrow.
Yeah, William goes outside to chop
They
wood.
turn into witches themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're speaking. It's interesting because there's a weird thing happening here now where this is like the domain of the women, like Kate and Thomason. They're sort of the healers, and Caleb is here. They're at his bedside, and they're sort of in charge of the family dynamic for these few scenes where they're tending to Caleb. And William doesn't really know what to do. I'm pretty sure he just goes back outside and starts chopping wood.
Yeah,
again.
he's chopping wood. Yeah.
It's daytime, and Thomason's in the barn with Mercy and Jonas and the goats. And they're like, Black Phillip says you are wicked. You said you'd eat of me. And she's like, 'twas only in jest. And then she's milking the other goat, not Black Phillip. That one's a boy. We can't milk a boy.
Wow.
I have nipples. I have nipples, Thomason. Can you milk me? The goat's
You can
milk.
milk a boy.
And this is just another one of those little spooky things. The goat's milk is bloody.
Ooh.
It's just
Yeah,
like
which I
blood.
thought might have been some kind of metaphor for menstruation, Thomason reaching womanhood, some unexpected blood coming out of places you might not have thought it came out of before.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, she probably had no concept of menstruation.
This
I
is
don't think they were
witchcraft.
teaching
think they
that
talk
very
about
well.
that.
No. Kate was just dropping hints like, you might flower into womanhood one day. Wink, wink. What does that mean, mother?
So they argue over Caleb and what to do, and he's still planning to go to town on the morrow. And Kate's like, I want to be home in England. I never meant to be a shrew to thee. I've become as Job's wife, I know. Since Samuel disappeared, I have such a weakness of faith I cannot shake it. I fear I cannot ever feel the same measure of love again. And
Thou shalt have of it in heaven.
She basically gives
You'll
a
be
full,
loved when
like-
you're dead.
like
it's just like,
this is her like confessing to him her deepest, darkest psychological trauma to her husband. Basically, like, I'm so homesick for England where we came from. I don't believe in God anymore. Basically, that made us come over here,
it's a crisis, and it's an understandable one.
and he has no response to it. He's just like,
God.
wood needs to be
Yeah,
chopped.
I'm gonna go chop some.
See you later.
So we hear Jonas and Mercy singing to Black Phillip
I
again.
fucking love this goat so much.
Sing,
He's
ba,
cool.
Sing ba ba, King Black Phillip. He'll knock thee on thy back, and then you just hear a blood curdling scream.
Yeah, so they all rush in to go see what's going on in the house, and Caleb's awake. Caleb has come out of his coma or whatever he was in. He's delirious. He's screaming, and
Well, they do like the whole seance thing over him first, right?
Oh.
Like where Thomason.
Oh, that's like this part, because Caleb is delirious, and he's saying shit like, "Get the broad axe and cut off her head.
Okay.
She's upon me. Ah, sin, sin." And then they pull a bloody apple out of his throat. Like, just
it's fucking insane.
listeners, if you haven't seen this movie, like, can you believe what we're fucking describing? There's so
Yeah.
much dread and horror in this.
And the imagery is
William
so strong.
nonstop.
Like it coughs. Yeah, like Caleb coughs it up, or they.
He's
doesn't even cough, it's
choking
just like
on
it-
something.
It comes out, and it's just like this bloody whole apple just laying there.
Yeah,
so striking.
Caleb's choking, and William grabs something. It could be his poop knife. We don't know, but probably back then they had poop knives. And so
Thomason,
he
fetch my poop knife.
he wedges it out of Caleb's mouth with the poop knife, and it's an apple, a rotten apple.
Yeah. So at least they're eating good tonight. Now the kids, they're there, and they're accusing Thomason of witchery in front of mother and father, and he's like, "I'll not have it without proof. Dost thou love the word of God? Love you the Bible? Love you prayer?"
Yeah, Thomason, Anya Taylor-Joy gets on her knees in front of, and she has to give the performance of her life because, this is when shit gets real. They drop the witchcraft accusation, and Papa Bear, William, is not dismissing it. He's taking it pretty serious. He's like, get on your knees before me. And there is this weird scene where you get the feeling that Thomason doesn't necessarily have the faith that her parents have in this whole puritanical religious. But she has to, at this point, give the performance of a lifetime and just like be like, yes, I do fully believe in the Lord and all this, even though she probably has her own doubts and questions about what's going on.
Yeah. But we still have Caleb. First, he has his death scene, I guess.
He has a scene. The kids accuse Thomason of being a witch because Caleb has this almost like exorcist scene where he's almost speaking in tongues and he's writhing on the bed and talking to the Lord and saying, "Oh, Jesus, take me in your embrace and give me a hug." And
he's kind of going back and forth between talking to the Lord and talking as the devil. He's saying stuff like, "I am thine enemy, wallowing in the filth of my sins," and they're all praying for him. And then he seems to be saved for a minute, and he's kind of like in rapturous joy, and he's like, "My Lord, take me to your lap," and he just lays back down and dies.
Dude, Harvey Scrimshaw, he plays Caleb. I don't really know if he's done much else, but the stuff that he's doing in this scene is unbelievable. He's just the physical work he's doing. He's like sitting up, and I'm sure there's camera trickery too, but he's just kind of like seems like he's levitating towards God and like having like this honest discussion with him. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how he acted this scene out. I don't know how Robert Eggers coached him, but it's fucking unbelievable.
Phenomenal.
Meanwhile, though, the younger kids are in the corner having accused Thomason of witchcraft, and now they're faking like a fainting spell.
Right,
or are they?
They all need to say their prayers because Thomason's a witch. They can't recite their prayers because the devil's gotten into them.
Yeah, the younger kids are like, "We can't remember our prayers," and like Kate and William are like, "Oh, that means there's Satan in this room right now."
So like back then, in order to successfully accuse somebody of being a witch, really all you had to do was say, like, this one woman in Salem was accused of being a witch because she looked at a building and then the next day it collapsed. She like gave a funny look at a house and then it fell down the next day. So like these
Sounds
kids
pretty
not being
Yeah. Why was she looking at the building? Did they ever explain that?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
I think she was a witch. I'm glad they burned her.
But like,
what did they do to her?
but like not being able to recite your prayers because somebody's a witch was like a huge red flag. That was like,
oh yeah,
absolute ironclad evidence that this person was a witch.
And earlier, when Caleb was in the woods and he sees that sexy witch, she had the mark of the devil on her breast. Do you guys see that? I noticed.
Her eyes were up there, buddy. I was looking at her eyes. I don't know what
for some reason
I
noticed that.
Yeah, I respect women, even witches. Yeah. William just kind of leaves.
He
Catherine
succumbs.
crying over his body.
I gotta chop some wood.
He goes,
fuck off. I got wood to chop.
He goes outside and he embraces Thomason, who's crying, and he's like,
Yeah.
"You must tell me. The council will decide. You found him, pale and naked as death, and witched. Prithee confess. I beg thee to speak truth to me."
You and mother plan to rid the farm of me. I urge you, speak of it. You cannot bring the crops to yield. You cannot hunt. Thou canst do nothing but save, cut wood.
Hold thy tongue, daughter mine.
Yeah.
Bitch, must I hear the devil wag his tongue in thy mouth?
She basically shoves it
that.
in his face in this scene.
This guy,
Like,
and fuck, somebody has to tell this guy. Like,
yeah. He's so fully ready to just be like, "Oh yeah, Thomason is a witch. That's why my crops are so shitty."
the thing, and like, he could take his family back to town.
Yeah,
right.
But
like,
he's too stupid and prideful.
He didn't do anything. That was the reason he got kicked out. Is he thought that they were too lax, so he could just go into town and play by the rules at any time.
Yeah,
But
he
he
could
just
be like,
can't
"You
swallow his
can't eat
pride."
meat on Sunday," or whatever rule made him banish his
Yeah.
entire family into the wilderness.
Some unspoken arbitrary thing that made it. Yeah.
You can come back into
Non-negotiable.
town. All you must do is eat a taco on a Wednesday.
Tacos are not a sandwich.
I won't.
Tacos belong on Tuesdays.
Wings on Wednesdays, tacos on Tuesdays. It is as the Lord intended it.
Load the wagon, Kate. We're leaving again.
So yeah, she's talking to her father, and she's like, "Ask the twins then. They spend all day babbling to a horned beast. They know well his voice. The adversary comes in the shape of a he-goat and whispers, 'Twas they and that goat what bewitched this whole farm.'" And
She's got some good ammunition to come back against the twins with here.
it's fucked up. They're having to have witch accusations throwing back and forth, but
And I think there is like a thread of comedy in these witch accusation scenes where like you just get these ridiculous accusations, and from our modern perspective, anyone would be like, "So what? The kid's talking to a goat or whatever."
but the movie's immersive and it shows us things
so
in
this
such a
is-
way where those things seem credible.
This is very real
The witch
to these
seems
people.
credible to us as the viewers as much as it does to them.
Another real life witch accusation that resulted in somebody being hung is this man was walking by and this woman looked at him and he thought that she gave him a dirty look, and then a week later this guy's brother-in-law or something like that died. She's a witch. Like, it doesn't take much to accuse somebody of being a witch in these times.
I'd say that the evidence stockpiled against these twins is pretty damning
Way-
by comparison to that.
Yeah.
and like partially the witch is just a metaphor for whatever the fuck's out there in the forest. Like, it could be a wolf, it could be whatever mysterious thing is beyond the edge of our vision that we can't see.
Could
out
be
there.
the natives with their own religions.
Yeah, their strange practices,
Cultural practices, yeah.
their lineaments.
Yeah, we don't see any of them in this movie, but, you know, they're there.
You don't see much of anybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Once they're out of town, it is just this family and the witch, and that's it.
Which
Yeah.
is definitely intentional. It adds to this growing sense of isolation, especially as cast members are starting to die off, like Caleb dies.
Yeah.
And now we're
Yeah.
getting into it where it's like really starting to ramp up.
This
Yeah,
already
it's
small
the climax
cast.
of the movie, basically. William goes back into the house with Thomason, and he yells at the twins, who appear to be sleeping. He's like, "Wake, you black devils! Did you make some unholy bond with that black goat? Dissemblers, grave pretenders, all.
Yeah.
Wake! Fetch the billhook, and I will smite Jonas as Abraham would have done his seed. Fetch the billhook, and I will dash his skull."
And he does. The kids are pretending to be passed out from devilry in the corner, but he grabs one and grabs the billhook and like holds it up to the kid, and then the kid all of a sudden is awake and starts like squealing, as you do
Intense,
when a
dude.
billhook's held up to you.
Holy fuck.
It's a-
I think
Dash his skull like Abraham.
I think he's overreacting a little bit.
no,
No,
So then he
these
locks...
kids are misbehaving.
ain't misbehaving.
Being merciful, he locks the kids in the barn with the goats.
fucking
And he's
love
like,
this.
"If that old Billy be the devil, I'd have danced with him myself. I'll open it at dawn, and we'll set out to the plantation."
So he's finally come around. He's like, okay, we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Come to
happy
his
here.
senses.
I'm not happy here.
All these kids have been misbehaving. They need to spend the night in the goat shack.
I really love this scene where just all the kids, it's just like people being in lockup, right? Except they're in the goat shack.
And they're all, it's almost like a sober morning after, where it's like, yeah, we've been all acting a
Yeah.
fool with this witchcraft.
like, are you really a witch? No. Can you really hear Black Phillip? No. Like, it's just so fun. Like, they realize, like, they're kids. They're all still kids. They're children. And they're kind of realizing that these games they've been playing around with have real world repercussions.
Yeah.
And they're kind of starting to make amends.
Although it does continue to toy with you, because when Thomason asks them if they can actually speak with Black Phillip, they don't. They're kind of coy about it. They don't straight up say no. They just kind of look at her in silence with a sheepish look.
Again, these kids. Come on.
Little scamps.
Send them into the woods.
Little ghouls.
So father and mother, they bury Caleb, and Catherine, she jumps into the grave to embrace him again. Real fun times here.
It's like an Italian funeral.
Yeah,
Like,
William's cutting wood that night and just crying out to God, "I'm a coward infected with pride.
Yeah.
I lick the dust of thine earth. I beg thee, save my children."
He's 6 feet over from the goat shack that he locked his children in, and he's just saying this like,
Save my children.
he's like, "I'm a fool." This is where he admits his sin of pride, and he's like, "I was prideful. Maybe this wasn't a great idea. Maybe I should have gone back to the village 6 months ago."
Save the children yourself. They're right there. Just you can open the.
They can hear you.
Just walk right over there. Open the gate up. Let him go sleep in the house.
Thomason is listening to you.
Dad, shut up, Dad. Quit chopping wood. We're trying to sleep.
Black Phillip can hear you.
Get any shut eye around here without these guys screaming to God,
Yeah.
beseeching him for mercy at all hours of the fucking night.
Endless, incessant praying.
It's a good thing they're isolated, because you imagine being this family's neighbor.
Oh,
my
God.
God. I would accuse them of witchcraft, and I would have them burnt at the stake.
I would dash those kids' skulls with a billhook, as Abraham would have done to his seed.
As the Lord demands.
I'd gore William and throw him into a wood pile if he lived next to me.
Yeah.
Let's see what this movie is really about: is bad neighbors.
Yeah.
Two bad neighbors.
These guys just didn't know how to
The
live.
boy's name is Caleb.
deliciously.
I don't know the father's name. So then we get a really freaky gothic kind of scene here where Catherine gets up in the night by candlelight, and she sees Caleb in the room, and he's holding Samuel, and Samuel's kind of wrapped up in a red cloak, and she's like, "My lambs, my angels." And Caleb's like, "Mother, we have longed to see you, as have I to thee. I must wake thy father. He would be so glad." Caleb whispers that he brought a book for her.
A book other than the Bible? That's not allowed.
It's like a guest book, we learn. It's kind of, it's like, this is your little entrance to hell. Be like, hey,
Yeah, you gotta sign
look,
something.
Henry Kissinger was here. Cool.
Black Phillip, love the woods. It was great. Vaughn and the Ghouls, August 1652.
10 out of 10 would go again.
It's a very...
Please leave a good review on Yelp.
It's super creepy scene because you know that both these kids are dead and they're talking weird and
Yeah.
it's all very. It's kind of an Edgar Allan Poe. She's gone mad at this point, and
She takes Samuel into her arms and she goes, "Oh, one moment now. Samuel's hungry." And then it's just kind of, the camera just goes out and we see a raven pecking at her breast, like
Yeah.
ripping her nipple off.
it's
Yeah.
all a hallucination. She's actually breastfeeding a raven.
It's a striking image. She's sitting in the middle of an empty room in a chair, and her like gown is open just enough, and she's just like holding perfectly still. And while this horrifying thing is happening,
It's
she's in the
horrific,
throes of ecstasy. It's the first time she's been happy in the movie, and like there's like pain
Yeah.
too, but like it's a real mind fuck.
This
Yeah.
fucking movie's so dude.
So while this is happening in the goat pen in the little hut there, the Thomason wakes up and she sees this witch milking one of the goats, just kind of like doing what witches like.
Yeah, she's
in the
in the
corner.
hag form, like
Yeah.
the naked hag.
Yeah,
Just flat ass, real, just way out
Real
there.
big pancake ass.
like it's a pretty tense scene where the twins are awake and they hear something land on the roof of the goat shack, and then the witch insinuates itself into the goat shack and is drinking the delicious cream.
In her hag form with her big ass, she reminds me of Station from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Station!
She reminds me of
Totally gnarly alien butt.
She's like a dump truck Martha.
Here's where we get the witch cackle the movie, and it's a good one. It's like,
Yeah,
and then cut to the next morning.
grade A witch cackle.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
William wakes up. It's midday or something like that. Like he's slept in. He's all disheveled. He's walking around. He's like trying to find his axe. He goes outside and he sees the goat shack has been obliterated. Like somebody like hulked out in there and blew all the doors, all the
yeah.
walls apart.
Looks like an asteroid landed on it or something. There's like skinned goats lying on the ground. Thomason's lying on the ground. The twins are nowhere to be found.
Gotta say, it doesn't look good for Thomason once again.
No. Once again, pretty suspicious. Seems like something a witch would do, being lying in the middle of this wreckage.
Yeah, he just kind of looks around in disbelief, and then Black Phillip just comes out of nowhere and just gores his ass. Just
I love how
fucking pounds
immediate
him.
this is. There's no warning at all.
Yeah.
It just happens.
He gets gored, but then he picks up his axe, like he's gonna fight Black Phillip, but then he's just kind of like, fuck it, and throws his axe aside, and then Black Phillip gores him again,
Yeah,
putting him down.
Yeah, he rams him right into his huge wood pile.
Into his
And like the wood
gigantic
prize.
metaphorical wood pile, and
Yeah.
all the logs fall on top of him and bury him up to his head.
The physical
It has the last
manifestation of
line.
his pride.
Yeah, he has a last line, and it isn't, "The irony of this is not lost on me." But it is, he says, "Corruption, thou art my father." Which is kind of,
That's
I'm not sure
badass.
if I understand what he means by that, but
Me either, but I'm gonna say that when I die.
corruption, thou art my father.
I'm just gonna say that
What?
every 5 seconds because I don't really know when I'm gonna die, so I'm just gonna hedge my bets.
Is he rebuking God with his dying words?
What's the line again?
Oh,
Corruption, thou art my father.
yeah, maybe. Is he
Kind
saying?
of sounds to me like he's rebuking God.
I think he's come to terms with the fact that he has fallen from grace. He's sinned and it's led him astray, and he's become corrupt. And
Yeah.
he's like in the last few weeks of his life or whatever, he's
he hasn't been a
doomed himself
godly
to hell.
man.
Yeah.
So you think it's more of a confession of
Yeah.
humility?
That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, it could be that. Yeah.
Because that was my first impression too. Was that he's like saying God is corrupt, but no, that makes more sense.
So he's dead. Catherine comes out. She's a mess. She's got blood on her frock, and she's looking around, and she sees the wreckage and immediately, obviously, blames Thomason. She's the only person in sight, and there's missing children, and her husband's dead. So she just starts attacking her, and she's gonna kill her. She's got like her hands around her throat, and she's just screaming, and she's in a total fit of rage. And Thomason, to defend herself, grabs just some tool that's at hand and just
It's a bill hook.
that's the bill hook. Just starts cudgeoning her in the head,
Like Abraham.
bludgeoning her. Bill hook
Teaches her a
plus 2
lesson.
bludgeon damage.
Dashes her in the head.
Yeah, the mom lays it all on the line here. She's like, she reveals that she's kind of been threatened by Thomason's blossoming womanhood. She's like, I've seen your sluttish ways. I've seen you cast a coy glance at your brother and your father or whatever, which is probably totally in her mind, I would imagine. But it's just,
This is like, yeah.
More like
It's another very upsetting scene, especially upsetting to describe.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about this movie where it's like a really cozy and like cozy
Yeah.
watch, and it's very pleasant
because
and
it's all candle
atmospheric.
lit and
Yeah.
fire. It's just like warm.
I don't know how it goes down so easy because this is just upsetting material. She's crying
Yeah.
as her mother's trying to kill her, and she's saying, "I love you, Mom. I love you.
Yeah.
No, please stop. I love you." And she fucking bashes her mom's head in. Like this
Has to do
shit
it.
is fucking hardcore, dude.
Yeah.
there's like 30 seconds, which is an eternity. This shot of just the mother like lying on top of Thomason.
Her face is covered in her mom's blood.
And she seems to be pretty traumatized, but then she just kind of like pushes her off like a girl boss, you know, and gets up like, yeah,
She's still determined to have her brat summer.
yeah, exactly. Like, I am. This is a new me.
Brat summer's over. Witch summer's beginning.
Pushes her off, goes
Yes.
into the hut, takes off her restrictive corset, and puts her cool witch cloak on. Sits at the table until nightfall.
Well, I think she falls asleep.
Has
She
a
lies
little
down,
nap,
Yeah.
like a boss.
So then, she wakes up. It's nightfall, and she walks out entranced. She's walking like she's in a trance, and she goes into the what's left of the goat house.
It's very evocative imagery. 'cause,
What do you call it?
like,
A goat hole.
she steps outside, and Black Phillip is outside, standing outside the goat shack, and she's kind of beholds Black Phillip.
At this point, I'm kind of thinking there's something a little sus about this Black Phillip character.
what's up with this guy? He doesn't need to stay at that goat shack. He's a free goat now. He killed his master, but he's still there.
But
Thomason.
his brat summer's just beginning.
Yeah.
He
So-
he leads her into the goat shack. Like
Yeah.
he walks in and she follows. And they have a little tete-a-tete.
Yeah, she says, "Black Phillip, I conjure thee to
Black-
speak to me."
Black Phillip, who are your guys?
Who is
get
your
to know you.
daddy and what does he do?
This scene is great.
Yeah, and now we hear it's just like a whisper. Wouldst thou like the taste of butter, a pretty dress? Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
What would you have of me?
Thy shit.
And then he turns into like a captain. Like
He's
a-
like, sign my guest book.
yeah. He whips out his book.
Please rate, review, and subscribe.
He turns into a pirate.
This is great. So you see the 1 foot come down and it's a goat hoof, and then the next step that comes, it's a human
Yeah.
foot, and then he's just kind of
He's like
He's a well-dressed man.
what's that pirate on the rum? Captain Morgan. He's
Yeah,
like
he
Captain
looks kinda
Morgan.
like that. This guy's he's some sort of model.
what's that?
I think he's Arabic or something. The
Okay.
guy they cast in this, but you just kind of barely see him in the background. He's kind of blurred out.
Yeah.
You see the shape of his figure. He's just a striking looking person, right?
Thomason's in the foreground removing her shift.
What's that like to have a Cuba Yeah. So
I'd sell my soul for that.
she's removed her shift and
Use promo code high and low for $50 off your next trip to Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville.
Some conditions apply.
what's that like me to show the cheeseburger paradise? A little Jimmy Buffett joke. So She sits down. She doesn't know how to write, and she says as much.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to write.
He's a good guy. He can guide thy hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we cut to a naked Thomason walking into the woods, being guided by Black Phillip.
You can hear chanting in the woods, getting louder and louder as she's walking in there. Some kind of crazy language.
Skrillex is playing at night.
She's going to the rave in the woods, the bonfire party. It's hard to do a what was that genre of music called?
Dubstep.
Dubstep. Yeah.
That came and went faster than any genre of music I've ever
Yeah.
heard of.
Blink and you missed it, folks. She was watching them and they all just start floating in the air. They're doing like various kinds of head banging. Some of them are swirling their hair. Some of them are waving their arms. It's
The Coven's in action, and they're there. It looks like a fun time. They're dancing around a bonfire, and
that would be what I would want to do if I was living in that time. I don't want to be in the Puritan village. I want to be in the woods, floating and waving my arms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Worshiping the devil.
And Thomason, this is, I think, the first time we actually see her fully smile. I mean,
Yeah.
she smiled a little bit at her brother in that one scene, but like here she has a joyful
Yeah.
it's like
grin
some
on her
great,
face.
great acting by Anya Taylor-Joy as she's being levitated.
fucking amazing
She goes
in
back and forth between being scared and then just like a little bit happy and just kind of like, scared, sad. Like all these emotions are playing across her. And yeah, and it just like ends with her just laughing triumphantly, and she's finally free to live the
Yeah.
life she chooses. She's all this oppression that's been put on her whole life is gone away at a great cost, but now she can live the life she wants.
And again, it's very open to interpretation. Is this just a girl who has lost her mind and wandered naked out into the woods and she's just hallucinating? Or is this, you don't really know, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
and
is.
then that's it. And then we get that little caption at the end that we talked about in the beginning, that this film was inspired by many folk tales, fairy tales, and written accounts of historical witchcraft, including journals, diaries, and court records. Much of the dialogue comes directly from these period sources.
That's such like a fucking mic drop
Totally.
thing to end this
Yeah.
movie on.
Yeah. All of this is real.
Happened.
I took something that happened 400 years ago and made it happen today. I did it flawlessly.
You heard
Oh,
of based
man.
on a true story? Here are my sources.
Yeah.
Just a fucking wailing guitar solo of a feature film
Yeah.
debut. All right, well, that's Robert Eggers' The Witch. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about Disney's Hocus Pocus.
Boom.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hocus Pocus, 1993, directed by Kenny Ortega.
What else?
did he do? I can't remember. A bunch of crap. Probably an Ernest movie or two. I don't know.
He's definitely Ernest director caliber.
No, Kenny Ortega, he's done a bunch of Disney stuff. He's primarily a dance choreographer, I think. Yeah.
Did the choreography for Dirty Dancing, St. Elmo's Fire, Pretty in Pink.
So some good movies, and then he did some stuff for Disney. He did Newsies, which was a movie I liked a lot growing up with Christian Bale.
Was that with child actors?
Yeah, it's about newspaper boys in New York in like the early 20th century.
He directed Michael Jackson's This Is It.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a more recent
That's a big
A
endeavor.
hit.
little concert doc that came out shortly after MJ died.
Yeah, he did all the High School Musical stuff. So, yeah, he's just kind of a Disney house hand, but
Yeah.
he specializes in musical stuff, which, frankly, this movie doesn't have enough of, if you ask me.
If you have Bette Midler in the lead, come on, give me a couple tunes.
I know.
She's
She's-
just such a force majeure.
She's super theatrical in this movie.
I love her in this movie, actually. She's the best part of the movie.
She's very broad, very big, and it's very, you can see this like playing very well on like a stage on Broadway or something.
The big queer energy that like she brings to it. I was reading a little bit about her biography, and like she got her start in I think the late 60s singing in men's gay bathhouses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so she's
Like-
like a legit gay icon.
Yeah.
Some of the gay
100%.
icons, you're like, why is this a gay icon? But this one, you're like, oh, she sang in the bathhouse.
She was a household name growing up. My mom loved Bette Midler. I've had some of her movies on VHS, or my parents did, and I like
Your
like
mother,
Beaches. That was,
renowned bathhouse frequenter. That's why-
Buddy, I heard this great new singer at the bathhouse. My mother's a 1920s flapper.
She's got it though. She's got that star quality for the stage.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, on paper, I feel like, how do you fail with this movie? I mean, Kathy Najimy is somebody who's a great performer. I love her.
Peggy Hill, right? She does the voice of Peggy Hill in
I
The
think
King of the Hills.
one of the most underrated comedic performances of all time on a sitcom is Kathy Najimy as Peggy Hill. She is fucking hilarious in that show.
Genius.
I'll expand my.
But Peggy and Meatballs, her broken Spanish, like everything Peggy Hill does just tickles me so much.
Your Honor, you are a very honorable horse. That's what she says in Spanish.
Yeah, when she's put on trial.
Yeah, Kathy Najimy also was in Sister Act, which that was my Hocus Pocus. I know a lot of people at my age love Hocus Pocus. That was a huge movie for them as kids. Like Sister Act was a movie I watched a million times.
That was a movie we had around the house too, and we had the soundtracks for Sister Act 2 anyways on CD, so
Yeah.
that would get a lot of play. But
Those fucking nuns, they go, man. Those songs are good.
Hocus Pocus is a movie that I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this podcast right now will have very fond memories of. If you're of our vintage, it was just something that happened to be playing on TV multiple times every Halloween season. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie because I've seen it in snips and bits throughout my years, throughout like my formative childhood years. It was fun.
I'll say it hooked me in pretty good. I was there for it throughout the duration of this movie.
Bette Midler's my favorite part of this movie, but the witches, the three witches, are the best part of the movie throughout. Whenever they're on, I'm having a good time. You can kind of take all these kid actors and stuff them. I don't really...
Well, you're kind of rooting for the witches. You hope they get to eat their child or whatever makes them younger, drink some kid's blood.
They just want to have a good time.
See, for me, I was just kind of underwhelmed by the witches for the most part. They're not funny enough. There's just not enough of a good comedic dynamic between them.
Each witch kind of has their special power. Kathy Najimy, she is able to smell children out.
She's Mary Sanderson.
Mary Sanderson.
The three Sanderson sisters.
Yeah, she
They're
has the
witches.
children smelling.
That's her ability.
And she's like the Raekwon of the witches. She's the chef. She knows, and not just the children, she knows where to find the other ingredients, and she can make some marvelous shit up for these
We
witches.
form like Voltron. me and my three witches, the Wu-Tang Clan. We got Method Man. We got Sarah Sanderson.
The Sanderson sisters are for the children. And like Sarah Jessica Parker, Sarah Sanderson, she has like Pied Piper ability. She sings a song that can lure children. That's the only use she has in this entire movie.
She also seems like she can charm people in general. Like she can charm the boys. She loves
She's the most
boys.
attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
she's a young thing. She's a pretty young thing.
And she's dumb. That's her thing, is she's dumb. She's a dumb blonde bimbo.
Yeah, and Mary
Character.
is a bootlicker. She just is really always doing whatever Winifred wants and totally subservient to Winifred, Bette Midler's witch.
Yeah, who is like the chief head witch. She knows how to read the spell book and make all the good potions and all that stuff.
Yeah. So just my opening thought on this movie is I've never really seen it. You said it was on TV a bunch. I've seen snippets of it probably over the years, but I've never sat down and watched the whole thing before, and I didn't care for it.
I'm sure nostalgia plays a major role in enjoying this movie as an adult watching it.
So Hocus Pocus opens up on a storybook. 1693, it says. The shadow of a witch is flying over the countryside and over a colonial village over the credits, you know.
Sarah Jessica
Cool.
Parker singing her nice witch song where she's like, "Come, children, I'll take you in." The horses and beasts of the village start acting all wacky taffy as Sarah Jessica Parker witch lands in the village singing her song.
Mm-hmm.
That's my scribbled.
A boy wakes up and he notices his sister Emily is missing.
She's missing. There's some
Yeah.
colorful smoke coming from yonder woods.
He's a lad. He's a village lad. He's got like a billowy, like almost a puffy shirt, like Seinfeld's puffy shirt. You know, he's got like some trousers on.
I don't know
He's a
about
village
this kid.
lad.
I was so happy
It's a
when
little fruity to me.
Yeah, wouldn't fly these days.
I was so happy when we are done with his old Salem time and this kid was out of the movie for good, and then he comes back as a talking cat, and I was just fucking.
He's
So
Thackeray
sad.
Binks.
I think
Thackeray
it's a
Binks.
different actor voicing the cat than it is who voices.
Is it?
Is it?
I don't. I
Okay,
didn't
I
think
wasn't
so.
According
sure.
to
Oh, is
Wikipedia.
it? Oh, then that's probably right.
So
Interesting.
Why? I'd like to know, but
Yeah.
okay.
So Thackeray Binks, which is a fake name. When my wife was pregnant with our kid, we didn't really have a name made up. But people, when people are pregnant, they talk about the baby like it's, like they're around and stuff. So we had to come up with a name. So we're like, I don't know, let's just like take a regular name and tag on something else. So we like just started calling him Banthony. And it's just,
Oh, yeah.
like he's Anthony with a B.
Anthony Bonzio.
Anthony this, Anthony that, and that's all I could think of. And like Thackeray Binks, that is not a name. Give me a Thomason or
It's definitely like a Harry Potter, like magical name.
Absolutely.
Thackeray Binks would go to Hogwarts. I feel like.
Yeah.
Thackeray Binks is a Hufflepuff. I'll say that much.
I don't know what that means, but I'll go with it.
He's not the brightest, but he works hard. He works hard. He's a village lad.
So he's all worried about his sister, so he goes running into the woods to go and see what the rhubarb is.
Goes to his neighbor. The neighbor sees a plume of colored smoke rising from the woods, and he's like, "They conjure." So yeah, then he goes running into the woods, and he does a full-on Chris Farley fall down a ditch.
It's straight out of
That's
Hot
like-
Rod. It goes on and on and on. Like
That's like the fourth movie or so that has had a long falling scene where somebody's just biffing it down a hill. I love it every time.
It's a good stunt. Easy to pull off on a limited budget. You can fall down any kind of surface.
Stuntmen are cheap.
Dime a dozen.
So yeah, and then of course he just ends up right at their cabin and sees one of the witches taking little Emily inside, and then we get our first glimpse of Winifred, Bette Midler. She opens up the shutters and she's like, "Oh look, another glorious morning. Makes me sick."
And I'm having a good time.
She has a wicked tongue.
So this is my biggest problem with the movie is that the jokes aren't funny. I feel like a lot of these kids movies in the 90s like just didn't have funny jokes. I feel like
They're-
nowadays they make movies that funnier.
Yeah, I could agree with that. There's some very broad humor going on here.
It's just not clever enough. Like
You're telling me
Yeah.
that a witch riding a vacuum cleaner isn't funny to you?
It's like a modern broom.
Overall, this screenplay is fine, but yeah, it's not great.
it needed a punch up.
Big time.
There's nothing clever in here.
You know, I think this works for the intended audience, which is elementary school kids, which is like, it worked for me when I was an elementary school kid, so I'd have that going for me, that different perspective.
Well, sure. I don't
It's
need
a-
it to be Shrek, but like, I think Shrek is a blight upon culture and humanity as a whole. But like,
I also love Shrek.
Get out of me,
Boy.
swamp.
Shrek has
Get out of me, swamp, with your opinions.
Hey,
Shrek's probably where like
onions.
things did a 180. It's like the biggest watermark of like, this is where kids movies started to have like fucking jokes in them. And it's
Yeah.
gone too far in some directions. Now you have these Minion movies where we're seeing their asses and they're farting
yeah,
and jerking
yeah.
each other off or whatever.
I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I
But
don't-
like, I need
bar,
somewhere.
Bar, I don't really like these minions walking around with their little
Jerking each
butt
other
cheeks
off.
wiggling around. I don't like it. It's a little too
Masturbating all
suggestive.
over.
Little too suggestive.
I
A
don't
lot
watch
of
those.
Midwestern mothers out there wearing Minion shirts, Bar. I don't know what to make of it, but I think they might be lying with the devil, Bar.
They're children's movies, Bar. I don't really understand why a middle-aged person would want to wear a minion shirt, but this is this is Biden's America.
I never watched those Minions movies, but now that I know that's what they're about, I think I might.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched one of them, and I didn't really watch it. I was on my phone. Anyway, people tell me they're funny. I don't believe them. I'll never believe them.
I
movie is
like this subject matter more though. I like a spooky Halloween movie with jack-o'-lanterns and witches making sparkles
and Patty O'Reilly.
and Patty O'Reilly's.
I mean, I get it. I just think they make kids' movies funnier and smarter these days than they did in the early 90s.
Kids are probably smarter than we were when we were kids too.
Yeah,
They're like they get more.
kids are smarter than us now,
Yes.
probably.
I tried to eat rocks when I was a kid. My mother had to stop me.
But Mummy, it's what the birds do. It helps with the digestion.
It's a gizzard stone, mother.
Oh, so
Your son is bewitched.
he's got the devil.
get
Tell
the
me true.
poop
Do you have the
knife.
devil in you? Did you eat the devil's rock, Mitchell? Mitch Hell, McDisaac. Did you eat the devil's rock?
My dad fished in my mouth with the poop knife and popped out the rocks. It was okay after.
Okay, so Thackeray starts to spy a little bit. He wants to know what's going on in this witch's hovel here. And he goes in, and inside the witches, they're trying to brew a potion.
It's a good potion.
They need
It's
some
a
dead
good-
man's toes. Like they're
Yeah.
trying to brew a potion of eternal youth and
It's kind
immortality.
of like
or
it's the
something.
Macbeth potion ingredients, like that kind of style of ingredients.
mix blood of owl with the herb that is red, pluck a hair from my head, dead man's toe.
Dead
blah, blah,
man's
blah.
toe, dead man's toe, dead.
Yeah,
Like,
Just
are
freaking
we
out.
supposed to laugh at that?
Wait.
Like, that's not a joke.
That's foreshadowing because later they're trying to recreate the recipe and they can't remember. They're trying to remember, is it like dead man's ear? Was it dead man's fingernail? And
not
Sarah,
that fucking
Sarah
hard to
Jessica
remember.
Parker is like, it's dead man's toe, dead man's toe.
Okay.
Great
Lays the
foreshadowing.
groundwork. This movie's smart.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Pretty good.
Bar,
Pretty
there-
tight script.
There's some pretty crafty screenwriting in this
Genius.
movie.
It's kind of like in
Might
the
have
House
to put
of
it
the
in
Dragon.
the Library of Congress.
So the boy sneaks in and he moves to stop them before they can give Emily, his little sister, who's tied up in a chair,
He's
the
watching them-
life-sucking potion.
He's watching them make this potion, and he's like, he's sweating like the Key and Peele skit, where he's just like drenched in sweat for some reason, like up in the rafters watching, and it's just like pouring huge speeds of sweat down his face.
I didn't notice that.
It's probably pretty hot in that witch hut.
Yeah, they got a big fire burning under a giant cauldron.
Big
That'll
old
heat up
cauldron,
your
yeah.
house.
He's up in the upper rafters, peeking down, perving down.
But yeah, he kind of jumps out and shoots his shot and tries to save his sister, and he just goes off about how they're horrible witches and they're gonna get theirs, and
These
Yeah.
witches, they don't like having their vanity insulted. He calls them a bunch of horrible hags, insults their appearance. That's
yeah,
like
he
a
knocks over their cauldron.
knocks their potion over.
he kind of
What a
ruins their
dick.
day. Yeah, that's their dinner, man.
Yeah, and then Winnie shocks
is-
them with force lightning.
I'm making
Yeah.
spaghetti. I don't want Thackeray Banks running into my house and knocking over
Your
my
name's
pot of
not
spaghetti.
even real. Your parents hated you. Yeah, she does I wrote that in my notes. Force lightning. Full Palpatine force lightnings him.
So anyway, they've got this Necronomicon-looking book. That's like their spell and potion book recipes and whatever. Yeah, all that stuff.
It's a what do you call it? It's a conscious book, or it's alive. It's got an eye, it moves
Yeah.
around. It's a sentient book.
Yeah, bound in human flesh, inked in blood.
Love it.
Filled with all kinds of stuff.
Real witchy, real spooky.
Yeah, it's pretty. This movie starts off pretty good, I think. For a kids' movie, it kind of goes all in on the witch horror. Because
Yeah.
Emily gets her life sucked out of her.
And
That's
it makes them
pretty-
younger.
She's like the
It makes them
cutest,
younger.
sweetest little girl ever, and she like looks so precocious and sweet, and they fucking kill her good.
Yeah.
Murked hardcore.
Sarah Jessica Parker gets all sexy in her corset with her sexy black eyeliner.
All the boys are going to love me.
But they all get younger.
Yeah,
Bette
slightly.
Midler gets younger, but then none of them gets quite as young as Sarah Jessica Parker.
Well, Sarah Jessica Parker. She just kind of had gray hair. She didn't look. She's the youngest of them.
Yeah, maybe some
Yeah.
powder thrown on her face, make her look old.
They catch Thackeray.
Yeah, they peruse the spell book to decide what excruciating punishments to inflict upon them.
And
And
they
they're kind of going down the list. Let's see: amnesia, bunions, chilblains,
Like-
cholera.
Bunions is funny.
It should have been like a monkey's paw
Yeah, it's not
style
bad.
punishment where something that he did is being used against him to punish him, like he was prideful and
Nope.
now he has a weird face.
Cat
But
for all of eternity. An immortal cat.
you are a cat and you are immortal. Those are your punishments.
That's really not much of a punishment. I would
No.
if somebody could turn me into a cat today, I would 100% go for it.
Oh,
Cats have it pretty good.
They're living the good life.
Especially if I can talk.
Eat a tuna fish.
Man,
Yeah.
anybody would want to adopt a talking immortal cat.
Is a
Like
talking-
who wouldn't want that?
Talking cats kind of went out of style a little bit after this. After this, we still had animals in movies like your Air Buds and your MVPs and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
this is kind of peak talking pets.
Well,
Homeward Bound had come out.
Well,
and there'd been
the
a
Sabrina the Teenage
Yeah,
Witch.
when
exactly.
was
And that was
that?
around this
Yeah.
time too.
Salem was her talking
mid
cat's
mid
name.
90s.
But, like, this time was-
TGI Fridays.
Talking cats were the shit for a period.
Man,
The movie A Talking Cat. Did you mention that?
No, but did you? But I
starring.
it bears mentioning
Starring
in this conversation.
It bears mention. Stars Eric Roberts as the titular talking cat.
Oh, I'm a cat.
Wow,
I'm a fucking cat now.
that's
I'll
good.
do anything for a paycheck.
I have
please.
500 IMDb credits.
I love it.
I've been in more movies than Danny Trejo, maybe.
Well.
It's comparable.
Apparently, they have to hide booze from him on the set, and he it's like if he offers you money to get him booze, say no. Like
They have to send a little page boy ahead whenever Eric, by the way, Miss Eric Roberts will be on set today. Could you please peruse his articles?
I love Eric Roberts. I don't mean to throw shade at him.
Hello, my name is Eric Roberts. I am a good actor.
Yeah.
I like to drink. If I try to bribe you for a drink, please don't.
Yeah, that's a message she has to record in order for the movie to get insured. It's a legal requirement.
Is he going door to door in this scenario?
Whenever he moves on to a new production set, he has to go door to door like a fucking pederast and just gotta
Yeah.
let everybody know.
Well, I
this
didn't give
movie-
him any booze, but what am I going to do with 52 subscriptions to Vibe magazine?
I'd be curious. I'd give him some booze.
So yeah, they turn him into a cat, and before long, the villagers descend upon their cabin with torches and pitchforks. The
I
whole
do
deal.
love an angry mob with the torches and the pitchforks,
Yeah,
and
gotta love it.
Classic.
they fucking hang the Sanderson sisters. They put them up on the gallows and they curse the town and they give this whole little, oh, we'll be back. One day we'll be back. When the moon is full and it's All Hallows Eve, we'll be back.
They sing their
What did
spell.
you do with my son Thackeray? Cat's got my tongue.
Thackeray?
Thackeray. And so Thackeray, the cat's just kind of like trying to get his parents' attention. He's just moving around his legs and his dad just fucking kicks him. He's like, away, beast.
Get ye away.
Yeah.
Foul.
So
Tis an evil cat.
her dying words are, "My book speaks to you. On All Hallows Eve, when the moon is round, a virgin will summon us from under the ground. We shall be back, and the lives of all the children shall be mine."
Virginity is like a bit of a weird, like, it
It's
comes
a-
up a
it's
bunch
a
of this movie. It's
foible
a
in
weird
this.
choice.
It's a lot in this
Like-
movie. Virgin.
Yeah.
Like these kids, my impression is that these kids are playing younger than the actors are even, and they might be even junior high kids or something. So
Maybe, like, the actors were teenagers, like, and, like, they were
yeah,
young.
they're young actors to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not like a Luke Perry in Beverly Hills
No, they're not
90210
like-
or something. And did you guys look at a picture of the lead actor now? Because he looks like I was unable to recognize him now, which I guess is natural as people age, but
Ew, he aged?
he
Did
aged.
Yeah.
did you find this on one of those like clickbait things?
Man,
It's like
his
you won't
hairline.
believe what these child actors
Oh,
look
wow.
like now.
Omri Katz
Omri
is his name.
Katz.
He retired from. He's one of these guys. When you type in Hocus Pocus in Google, it shows the cast photos, and it's still his picture of him the same age he was in this cast. So at first, when I saw that, I thought, "Oh, did he die?" When he like immediately after this movie was filmed, because that's usually what that means. But no, he retired from acting.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not that long after
Get
this
out
movie.
of there.
Because you suck.
Yeah, get out the getting's
He's
good.
not great. His California smooth attitude, I didn't care for.
No, exactly. Hey Hollywood.
Keep it.
Yeah.
Hey Hollywood.
Hey Hollywood, nice shoes, Hollywood.
Yeah.
The bullies in this movie are ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Hollywood, you got some nice shoes. Hey Hollywood, the shoes fit.
Why don't you
We have the
clean
same
them?
size feet,
Your
Hollywood.
tongue. They're like Balkan Skull from
That's
the
what
Power
I had in my
Rangers.
notes.
Yeah.
Balkan Skull. That is like peak 90s bully.
Yeah, same styles and everything.
You got the one like skinny guy and the one kind of chunkier guy.
I don't
and
think we ever get their names. I just have them in my notes as
One's
Balkan
called
Skull.
Ice.
Ice because he has. You can tell
yeah.
because it's
Ice
shaved
is
into his
shaved
head.
into the back of his head.
Oh, yeah, we
and they
get
and they
the
say I forget what the name they call him here, but Ernie.
Oh yeah, they call him Ernie, and he's like, "I'm not Ernie."
I'm Ice.
So badass.
So anyway, the witches hang, and we cut to a teacher. She's telling the story in modern times. And so on Halloween night, a black cat still guards the Sanderson house, warding off any who might make the witches come back to life.
I don't believe that.
And yeah, and that's where we meet
Stupid.
Max Dennison. That's Max. That's Omri Katz, the boy.
I'm from California, and I think witches are stupid.
Oh, would you care to share your California laid-back, tie-dyed point of view?
What is that? Got his ass.
Zing.
And everybody, so it's so funny. Like everybody just buys into the whole witchcraft identity of what happened and like all this was real. It's real. Like
Yeah.
you might as well tell them that the Easter Bunny doesn't exist. The way this whole class just fucking loses
This
their
is
mind.
Salem, Massachusetts. This is Halloween town, you know? Like their entire I'm sure the major industry there is probably tourism based around the witchcraft. So
It is.
you know, like we have
Halloween
Candy
is-
Cane Lane.
Halloween in Salem isn't like it's depicted in this movie. It's like Mardi Gras. Like it's
Yeah.
Big
the
party.
streets are packed with people. Like it's a small town, and it's all year round. Like businesses depend on the tourist boom
Yeah.
in October. Right?
It's like Roswell, New Mexico. You go there, you're seeing alien decorations around year round. It's
Somebody's
So it
got to
is a
pull
huge
Max aside and be like, yeah, we know witches aren't real, but come on. Like, my mom and dad work at the Witch Museum. My auntie works at the Witch Taffy Factory. Like, we got to keep up.
we
There's
manufacture
so many
witch masks.
museums in Salem that are like Witch Museum. We went to the Torture Museum,
Ooh.
Sweet.
which was really cool. Yeah.
I love
Didn't have
torture.
much to do with Salem specifically, but it had like real torture devices from like the Middle Ages and stuff, and it was really spooky in there. And
Did they have like a
cool.
breaking wheel?
yeah,
Oh,
you
nice.
name it, every kind of torture.
Thumb
you can imagine.
screws?
Yep.
Oh, that's one of the best.
Oh man, Mitchell knows his tortures.
Did you
Iron Maiden. Was that,
Oh, yeah.
That one
that was a
wasn't there.
That was a
fictional
bit
one.
hard.
Iron Maiden
Was it
wasn't
fiction?
real. That was made up.
Actually, yeah,
in
it
later
was.
years.
They might have had one, but it did say those weren't real.
Oh,
but it did
okay.
say just unimaginable tortures. So many. I wish I
Oh,
could
yeah.
remember them.
The
but-
Scold's mask.
They use other screws. They'd have screws for all different sized joints.
yeah.
After they go through their
Not just
fingers,
the thumbs.
you have your wrists and your elbows and your knees and your ankles. Like I took a class on the history of witchcraft, and they were really good at torturing people. They had a lot of devices. So after his ass, totally gets got by the teacher. He's the laughingstock of class, and then the cute girl, Allison Watts, played by Vanessa Shaw, who had a bit of a career after this. Like she was
I love her.
Yeah, she
Well,
was the Ice
was
Queen
she in?
girlfriend in 40 Days and 40 Nights. She full on rapes Josh Hartnett.
Nice.
That's how she gets him to break his vow of abstinence. He ties himself to a bed, then she finds him
wow.
there and just
So virginity plays a role in that movie,
I
just like in
have
Hocus
not
Pocus.
seen that one.
I wasn't aware of that.
Sounds not problematic at all.
Josh Hartnett resurrects.
Oh, it's hilarious.
3
Possible coming
vampires.
attraction.
maybe. We could compare that. What's another good movie about Lent?
No one makes good Lent movies.
Martin Scorsese's Silence. I don't know.
Yeah.
So her and Max are having a bit of a standoff here.
Well, it's a kind of like Heather's with Christian Slater and Winona Ryder in that scene where he's
I'm
like
just
a
a
little,
hip new kid.
I'm a charming little dick. I don't. Do you want my number, Allison?
He's got total fucking 90s sitcom boy hair, just like the real
Yeah.
kind of floppy hairstyle.
He's like Jonathan Taylor Thomas here
Yeah.
with that haircut.
Yeah, but she explains to him that Halloween wasn't invented by candy companies. She
Which is an
tells-
outrageous thing.
It's a stupid thing to
This
say.
fucking kid hates Halloween because it's just like corporate grab, like money grab made by the
Yeah.
candy companies. Like,
Not really.
oh,
I mean,
I don't think so, Max.
what a fucking douche.
He's got the boilerplate anti-authority response, which is like this holiday was made up by candy companies to sell candy, and then she's got like a ridiculous response to that, where she's like, "Actually, it's All Hallows Eve. It's based on an old tradition, and it's the one day of the year where the dead can come back to life and
It's a
actually
real-
be on the earth."
The whole class stands up and claps and cheers for her.
Yeah, after they have their actually standoff, and again, he's just totally emasculated and made a fool of in front of the class.
Yeah.
And then he's like, in case Jimi Hendrix shows up tonight, here's my number.
Jimi Hendrix. What a weird fucking thing to
He's
say.
so cool.
He's hip. He's cool.
Again, like Heather's, that's like the 50-year-old scriptwriter.
Well, who's popular when I
slipping
was a
a
kid?
reference.
Kids loved the Jim.
Jimi Hendrix.
Jim Hendrix.
I personally don't care for him, but maybe kids still like him.
What do kids love these days? Takeshi 6ix9ine. He's the Takeshi 6ix9ine.
Is he dead?
No.
One of them.
He
died.
will be.
He's still among us.
I
walking
guess
the
he
earth.
is alive. Yeah. He's a snitch, though. Doesn't bode well.
Oh yeah, he was that fucking snitch.
Yeah, he went to
I
on
hate
trial.
that guy.
Right.
Fuck him.
He's gonna get stitches. If what I've
Dude,
been
if
told.
Stitches goes
I
after him,
hope
look
so.
out, because that guy's a lunatic.
Oh yes.
Okay, so Max is heading home from school now and comes across some.
Yeah,
there's some punks in
And
this
she
movie.
handed him back his own phone number,
Oh,
by
right,
the
I
way, when he's leaving school.
Yeah.
She's like, "You really believe all that stuff you said?" And he's like, "Yeah, Halloween's stupid and for dumb babies, and I never want to get laid."
Dude, he can't read a room at all.
Yeah.
This
And
is
she's like,
Halloween
"Oh, here
town."
you go." And like he thinks it's her number that she's giving to him, but no, he opens it up, it's his number. It's like, "Yeah, you just fucking blew it, you dumb
Yeah.
freak."
Dude, if you're in high school and you want to get laid, like you just
Yeah.
you
You
just
say
pretend
yes.
like you're interested in what the girl you're interested or whoever you're interested
Yes,
You say-
listeners, if you want to score with a high school
Yeah.
girl, just pretend to like
Witches.
Sabrina Carpenter or whatever the fuck high school girls like. I mean,
You believe in witches.
You pretend you
don't-
like the Everly Brothers. That's the hip new band, right?
Yeah, you like the candy companies. You think they're doing good things for the community. That they're not exploiting the community.
actually, the Mars Corporation's chocolate is very ethically sourced.
And that's why Halloween is.
I can't give you Smarties because they're deforesting the Amazon.
Do you guys remember in North when he goes to the mall and it's him like going through like all these like valleys and meadows and forests and it's like an exaggeratedly pleasant like journey.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Max does here. He bikes off. He's biking through all kind the forest. He's
goes
biking
through the
on
graveyard.
a ridge.
It looks
And
like a nice town.
his bike is like wicked cool, and he's like jumping stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like,
He's
oh,
good.
so cool.
He's
Everything
got some cool
Max
kicks.
does has to be super fucking cool, and you better believe he has a
Yeah.
drum kit in his room because
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And he like slides on the bike sideways.
yeah, he does an Akira slide.
Yeah, the
as he
Akira
approaches these bullies.
Yeah, his tail light is like trailers,
I
tracers.
can't believe they'd bully somebody who just did an Akira slide. Like, you should get down
Oh,
on your
yeah.
knees and suck that kid's dick. That's how cool he
That's
is.
how you know these guys are brain dead.
Yeah. So here we get like ice and mouth breather. This Ice, he's kind of like this bigger kid. He's got the word ice shaved in big block letters in
Yeah.
the back of his big melon head.
I would have to assume in tribute to Vanilla Ice, who would have been popular
He was hot at
with around this time, yeah.
Ice was
So,
cool. People liked ice.
If you were white and you liked hip hop,
They're starting to get into the other ices too.
yeah, Ice Tea, Ice.
Smirnoff Ice.
Hey, Hollywood, nice bike.
Yeah.
And none of these guys have Massachusetts accents,
No.
by the way.
No.
Um,
What the hell?
yeah, and they're like, "Oh, dude, tubular."
Yeah,
making fun of him.
really nice bike. They just have the worst report.
So let's have a butt. And
Yeah,
he's
they're
like, "I don't
menacing.
smoke." Oh man, these kids didn't smoke.
yeah, they're bad. They're the bad.
These
kids.
are tough boys. These are like the outsiders or the bazooka boys. These are boys who will smoke cigarettes, comb their hair back. They don't care. They don't care what the dress code is at the school.
They got long hair. They got words shaved in there, but we're lucky it's not a curse word.
Yeah.
So Max doesn't have a smoke. Oh, do you have any money? I heard you're from California. You must have a lot of money. And he doesn't have any money. It's like, I forget what they say to him, but like, you're just gonna leave us then. You're just gonna leave us hanging. You don't have anything to give us. Say, those are some nice shoes.
Cross trainers.
Why
What
don't
are
you
those?
give them to me?
Those are,
Suck.
Salem,
Jordans?
a famously rough town where you
Yeah.
just get lynched by fucking teenagers, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, these Massachusetts street toughs are bullying the new kid. They take his their Nike shoes. I don't know if they're Jordans.
Definitely Nike.
They got the Nike check on them though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a sneakerhead. So, nevertheless, he goes back home shoeless.
Shoeless.
And now
It's a pathetic. He's pedaling away with his socks on the pedals.
we meet his dad, who's played by Charles fucking Rocket. You guys familiar with his
No,
work?
it's Charles
No.
Rocket.
Oh, you don't want to do a fun fact segment on him?
Oh no.
Is he a porno star?
No, he was a SNL star. He came on to SNL kind of just after like Chevy Chase, and a lot of the
Oh.
early big stars came out.
Okay.
And he was going to be like the next big star.
And he's the guy whose name I don't recognize today.
Yeah.
Because in
So we don't.
2005,
Fun facts.
he was found dead in a field on his Connecticut property with his throat slit. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's really sad.
That's very sad.
Yeah, you would remember him more as the villain from Dumb and Dumber.
The yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The medical examiner ruled to the death a suicide.
Yeah.
What?
Holy shit.
See, I knew this.
I
I
don't
love
know.
that you guys are learning this in real time.
I see a man in a field with his throat slit. I think maybe somebody else did that.
Yeah, so like a first class ticket to Hawaii. Vegetarian.
He got fired. Yeah, he got fired from Saturday Night Live. They were like, "Yeah, this guy will be the next Chevy." And
This kid has a serious case of rich boy Hollywood bedroom. Like, it's massive. He has a computer, a drum set, tons of floor space, a gigantic bed, and an upstairs.
He's
He
total.
can like climb up his
he's-
ladder and go upstairs in his room.
this is big. Yeah,
He's-
even by any standard of movie we've covered so far.
He is Shia LaBeouf from Disturbia.
Totally.
He had that kind of room.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia. I believe that's the proper way to pronounce it. Not the people often mispronounce Shia LaBeouf. But it's Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia himself even says it wrong.
I was touring around with Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, Omri Katz, and I were touring.
So his sister, welcome back to the pod. Little Miss Thora Birch playing Danielle Danny Dennison.
That's right. Giving a way better performance in this than she did in Dungeons
Oh.
and Dragons, I have to think.
Miles ahead.
Favors.
She's very little here. I mean, she's not, amazing in this, but yeah, she's
no,
fine.
Super precocious.
Decent child actor.
She's funny.
Yeah.
She has like comic timing.
She's just giving Max a piece of her mind. Danny's telling Max that he needs to take her out trick-or-treating. If not, she's going to go raise bloody murder. And Max doesn't want to, but he gets bested. Because this
Max
guy,
ain't
They're
into
playing
it.
the drums to ignore her.
Yeah.
He's so fucking cool.
he's so
dude.
cool, man.
He starts beating out a drum lick.
Yeah, he's just poochy.
Boom,
He's-
boom, bop, 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 bop. I can't hear you, Danny. I'm playing my drums. I
But
got my
Max,
floppy hair.
We go trick or treating every year.
Yeah. So
Fuck you.
He refuses
Fuck you.
and she screams mom, and then I guess that's the final word. He's got to take her trick or treating.
Yeah.
So dad's downstairs and he's like, the bewitching hour is about to begin. Hey, lighten up, Max. What are you supposed to be? And he's like, he's basically just wearing like a brown jacket and jeans and a hat.
It looks like Easy.
He's like a rap singer. He's like, well, then your hat should be sideways, shouldn't it? And his dad turns his hat sideways.
The soundtrack really missed an opportunity to do a bit of a record scratch here.
Oh, that would have been great.
But isn't rap funny? Isn't rap funny?
I know, right?
What
Imagine
was it with these people wearing their hats sideways and their baggy clothes?
In the early 90s, there was just nothing funnier than just the concept of rap being even considered a music.
and a white kid.
Next, I mean, the funniest thing on like the pyramid of rap being funny is a rapping grandma.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or a rapping duke, having a
Sure.
rapping duke.
Any
do
sort
a-
of like
yeah.
august or
A rapping
figure.
crypt keeper, as we saw.
Yeah,
we
the
were
Crypt
looking
Keep-
at YouTube's
the
of the
Crypt
Keeper
Keeper rap. I mean, you
Earlier.
had a rapping Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah,
We never
rapping
got
Rodney.
rapping Ronald Reagan.
No, that's
what I
that's,
say, Mommy, I'm here to say that we're gonna rap in the Reagan way.
Well,
I know this is a gift that AI will bring us in the immediate future. Is a
You don't
rapping
need AI.
Reagan. So
If you see some unions, I'm gonna bust them.
yeah,
The rust belt can stay extra rusted. So they're trick or treating, and who do they run into? But those punks, those fucking punks.
there's even more of them now.
There's
they're
like
already
half a dozen of
smashing
them.
pumpkins.
Yeah, they're robbing kids in front of this house.
They're like sitting on this person's porch, pretty much, and just like shaking down any kid who leaves. And there's
Yeah.
a fucking presumably there's a grown ass adult 10 feet away who's not telling these kids to get the fuck off their property. Like,
Somebody stop them, man. Like,
Did you
if
guys
I saw those kids, I would just boot them so hard
Yeah.
in the ass. They would fucking feel it for days.
I would shoot them if I was in
I
America. I mean, we don't have that privilege here in communist Canada, but
Massachusetts is an open carry state. You better watch out who you rob for candy for me.
So I don't
Yeah.
know if this is like a thing that people do is rob little kids for bags, but like
Oh, the Ghetto Boys did it.
yeah, I was gonna
I-
say
They're robbing them kids for bags.
this year Halloween fell on a weekend. Me and Ghetto Boys are trick or treating, robbing little kids for bags.
it's an activity. I remember hearing the warning. I was never robbed for my candy, but I heard a warning that there was candy robbers in the neighborhood. To be careful when I was trick or treating.
I only ever heard about like only accepting candy that you trust.
Oh yeah, you don't want to eat a razor blade.
Did you ever dump out your candy and sort through it to make
Yeah.
sure that none of the wrappers were open or anything like that?
No, I just fucking devoured that shit.
I didn't do that at my house. When
We
I
did
went
that.
trick-or-treating, when I went with like friends,
Yeah,
we'd go to their place and they did that. I'm like, the fuck is going? Like, why aren't we just eating it? But
it was a pointless ritual.
it'd be like, oh, this bag of chips is popped. There's no air in it. We got to throw it out. Who knows what somebody put in the chips?
yeah,
It's
somebody
like
could have
never been an issue, I don't think.
No, it happened. The whole thing was a myth. This guy, this heroin junkie, accidentally his kid like overdosed on heroin that he left out, and so he made the he made the excuse
Wait,
that
that's
like
not a funny story.
No, that's very sad.
he made the excuse that some candy they had picked up while trick or treating had the heroin on it, but no, it was just like a needle he left out or something. And the whole myth kind of blew up from there, apparently.
Yeah, a lot of it is like they're gonna put fentanyl in there.
Yeah.
and like you
Pretty
can
good
get
fentanyl.
sick just from touching fentanyl, and that's not true. Remember that cop lady on the news a while ago? She picked up some fentanyl and like passed out and was like seizuring and pretending to die, and everyone's like, "You're such a fucking liar."
I've seen a few
fucking
propaganda type videos on
Yeah.
that where it's like, oh, I was patting down a guy who had fentanyl in his pocket, and now I'm having a seizure.
Yeah, total bullshit.
Damn, I thought fentanyl was the real miracle.
Oh man, I don't even want to go there.
So, you're doing a little trick-or-treating.
Nice.
Lameoids trick or treat.
No licorice. She calls Max in to help. Love the costume. What are you supposed to be? A new kid on the block?
Oh, shit. Got him. This guy's just getting...
Actually, he's a Boy Scouter.
Is he from California or is he a new kid on the block? Because he can't be both. The new kids were from Massachusetts. Come on, man.
Were they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Wahlberg
Oh,
clan.
fuck. Yeah, boss.
Yeah, they were Boston as hell.
Who was the Wahlberg in that group?
Donnie.
He's a rough sort. He was in The Sixth Element.
Yeah, and Saw.
Yeah.
Or Saw 1.
Played a cop.
But New
He's
Kids
on that
the
one
Block.
propaganda show. What is it?
Blue Bloods?
Blue Bloods.
Is-
Yeah. I always catch the first 5 minutes of it.
Or a
after
bunch
Jeopardy.
of Blue Bloods. Tom Selleck with his mustache.
It's the most ridiculous show. We should actually just probably cancel this show and just do a Blue Bloods recap podcast. I think that would actually be a really good idea.
That would be fun to do some TV episode-centric episodes.
Maybe that's like Patreon bonus content. Our bonus show is us recapping Blue Bloods episodes.
Blue Bloods or Nash Bridges or just some show that nobody cares about anymore.
Tom Selleck's mustache is looking particularly bushy in this episode.
What was that Selleck show? John Oliver showed a clip.
Magnum PI.
Yeah, it
where
was
he shoots the
the
nun.
nun. Yeah, the nun is like painting this house, and he's like, "Good evening, sister," or "Good afternoon, sister." And then he goes up to the door and he just goes to himself, "Nuns don't work on Sundays." He pulls out his gun, and she pulls out a gun and shoots this nun, and
She's
she
a
falls off
Colombian
ladder.
narco.
It was great.
That's a fucking amazing clip.
That's like Conan back in the day. He used to have the bit where he would pull the lever and make the Chuck Norris Walker Texas Ranger clips playing. They were always an out of context hilarious
Plane
clip
crashed
of
here.
yeah.
That was hilarious. I remember that.
Yeah. He tastes the dirt and he's like, a plane crashed.
Then I believe in that clip he stands up and gets smoked in the face by a canoe paddle.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the same one.
The one clip that sticks out to me is Haley Joel Osment was in it, and he's like, Walker told me I have AIDS,
He's just like,
and then the clip just ends. You guys remember when New Kids and Backstreet Boys did that big world tour?
NKOTBSB.
Yeah, that's it. That's the right acronym.
Yeah, I was there.
I saw New Kids on the Block in concert.
Oh, nice.
Did you?
I did.
Dirty
With
dog.
my sister when they had this single.
Sure,
called
with your
Single.
sister.
Vaughn, I don't want it. You're going.
So the new kid on the block burn, and then Danny's like, "For your information, he's a little leaguer." What the fuck?
She is
Not
not
helping.
making it. Not helping. Does she want Max to get his ass kicked? Maybe.
Yeah. He's like, you just humiliated me in front of all the boys from school. So collect your candy and get out of my life.
Yeah.
She runs off. She goes, cries on some pumpkins.
That's really fun. Yeah, she collapses on a pile of pumpkins and just starts weeping.
A really amazing display of pumpkins. This is like a great. There's like 10 pumpkins here. They all are immaculately carved.
Do
This
me a
is
favor.
amazing Halloween.
Close your eyes. I'm going to say a word. Halloween. What do you picture? I bet it's
Pumpkins.
a pumpkin. Yeah.
Yeah, with a candle inside of it, a jack-o'-lantern. There's at least 10 jack-o'-lanterns here.
So I'm there with Jack Skellington and Fred Krueger.
Freddie's
And we're
actually a
si-
nice guy.
We're going to Christmas Town. We're in Halloween Town. So anyway, they go back to trick or treating. They come upon this nice colonial mansion, basically, and they're like, rich people probably give us cider and make us bob for apples.
He was 100% right, but what a weird guess.
Yeah. They go inside and they're not playing Halloween music. They're playing like Mozart's Minuet from Divertimento.
Yeah.
It's the most brightly lit Halloween party or whatever is going on there I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it is a costume party, but they're not like dressed like ghosts and witches. They're like dressed like Barry Lyndon or
Yeah,
something like that. Like they're all
It's a weird thing, and it has that Mozart song, do 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 do.
yeah.
And it's like it has to be the fancy music that you have in all those old movies, the signifiers,
Yeah.
whether it's like water music or Vivaldi's Four Seasons, like bum, 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 bum,
Ein
ba-da-da.
Klein Nosh music. Like,
Yeah, Ein Klein. Yeah.
dun, dun, dun. Like, do you get that these people
Are fancy.
They're
Very
fancy.
fancy. And my first
Just
thought
a
is like
weird Halloween party.
like
Yeah.
they might be like a secret society, like an Eyes Wide Shut or the Skulls or something.
There's
of
a
rich
big
people,
bowl by the
but
door filled with keys. I don't know what that's all about, but
they're
Well,
springing-
Vanessa Shaw, she was in Eyes Wide Shut.
Interesting.
she was. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
a holiday favorite for me.
oh,
That's a cozy classic.
Yeah,
possibly in a shared universe with Hocus Pocus.
yeah. Anyway,
So Max goes up and he says Fidelio. Vanessa Shaw lets him in.
yeah, it's Allison's house. She invites them in, offers them cider, of course.
Max, you're just in time. We're going to do bobbing for apples. But
So Danny, she is dressed up as a witch, and she compliments Allison on her costume, and she's like, "I really like your costume. Of course, I couldn't wear anything like that because I don't have any. What do you call them, Max? Yabos."
Yabos.
Yabo.
Yabo.
Y'all remember Yabos?
I've never heard this word yabo before
No.
in my life.
Outside
I
of
like
this
it,
movie,
though.
and anytime people are referring to this movie on the internet or something like that, people don't say Yabos.
I think it works. I'm gonna start using it.
Yeah, she's like, "What do you? Yeah, yabos. Max likes your yabos.
Oh,
In
you're
fact, he loves-
Allison.
Yeah,
Your bosom. Dost thou like her bosom, Max? It's hard to resist.
I'm gonna, man. If I go back to Salem, I'll get a big sign that says, "Show me your yabos."
What
for
size yabos dost thou have? Medium, small, or large?
So earlier in the movie, Danny caught Max like pretend making out with his pillow or something like that, saying, "Oh, Allison, Allison." Or so once Danny finds out that this is Allison, boy, does she just embarrass him even more. This Max is just getting it from
Yeah.
every angle.
Yeah, fuck him. He deserves
Honestly,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
this guy sucks.
He was dry humping the pillow earlier, saying Allison. Danny caught him in the act.
Did
It
you
was-
watch the director's cut?
he was like about to like start smooching and making out with it. It was like a weird POV shot from Danny's point of view in the closet. It was like almost like something out of Friday the 13th or Halloween or something, where she's like watching him from the closet.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, that happened. Yeah. And yeah, he was like, oh, he got in his room and he was like, Allison. And he started smooching the pillow, and then Danny busted out.
Allison, oh, Allison, I love you so much, Allison.
That happened.
And Danny comes in and she's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, well, you know,
You fucking that pillow.
it looks like you might need some help. I am just your stepsister after all."
Easy.
Danny caught her hand in the dryer. It was a big mess.
They kind of have some banter back and forth, and they decide that they're going to go check out the Sanderson house. If they're going to convince Max that witches are real or there's real spooky stuff, well, why don't we go to the Sanderson house? And
Basically, Max wants to make time with Allison. He's like, why don't we get out of here and go to
yeah, now he's getting it. He's like, oh, you like witches? You want to go do witch shit? Sure, I'll go do witch shit with you, baby.
Yeah.
Fucking
We'll make a potion.
Yeah, and Allison's mom used to run the Sanderson Sisters Museum, but
got
it was
the
shut
keys.
down because a lot of spooky things happened there. Like, that's ever been a reason to shut something down.
Dude,
I
sounds
bet,
like the best reason to keep that museum open.
Yeah,
Charlie, got to increase the entry fee.
There's some places in Salem that our tour guide pointed out to us. There's one that's like a bed and breakfast now, but it's been an office space, and it's been all kinds of things throughout the years. And like he told us ghost stories of a lot of places, and there's some good ones. Like they spine tinglers, and like I don't believe in ghosts, but I love a good story. But man, there's this one place that's a bed and breakfast, and that ghost is violent. Like people met violent ends there. Like it's an aggressive poltergeist, and like multiple office places like have gone in there, and multiple like permanent tenants have stayed there, and like presidents have stayed there over the years, like from the 18th century and shit, and like have all had horrifying stories from it, and like lots of people have met horrible ends in this place, and like you can stay there. I'm like, I would fucking
That's
love
awesome.
to, man.
We should do a episode where we go to a haunted, violently haunted place with a ghost, and like bring like a Ouija board or something, and like try to do a seance or
It's
something.
like
That
one
would be-
thing. Yeah, it's like one thing because there's like a hotel where there's a bar and a restaurant there now, but like you can see the servants' ghosts under in the basement, and people see it all the time, and people have conversations with ghosts, like frequently reported. You know,
Yeah.
take it with a grain of salt as you will, but they're compelling stories nonetheless. But,
Yeah.
like, and then but then the places like that are violently haunted.
You can't spend the night there.
Oh man.
The beds were comfortable, but whenever I turned the taps on, blood came out. So 5 stars.
It's quite violently haunted.
A man who ripped his own face off and like
Oh.
threw me down a flight of stairs and like
And then put his face on my face.
ate my head.
And then pooped my head out and put it on his head.
Man, I would love to stay in a place like that.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
So they go to the Sanderson sisters' house.
Yeah.
They go to the Sanderson house. They get in. Allison's got the keys. No problem.
Genuinely good idea to go check out this museum.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun thing to do on Halloween.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
a- it's
They're
a-
like, legend has it the bones of 100 children are buried within these walls. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's good Halloween fun.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. When the witches ate that child earlier, it looked like it de-aged them about
20 years?
20
20
years.
years, yeah.
Yeah. So 100 children. Oh, it could be. Yeah, they've been
Got a,
they've
got
been
a
alive
bunch of
for a
little
long
Benjamin
time.
Buttons running around with their witch hats.
Yeah.
Have maybe they de-aged into babies. That'd be funny.
Oh yeah, baby witches.
Witch babies.
Y'all heard of baby geniuses? Did you hear of baby witches?
You could make a cartoon spin-off. Witch babies.
It's a good idea. We shouldn't talk about it too much on the air.
So, yeah, as Allison's getting the lights on in there, Max grabs a working Zippo from the gift shop. They haven't even cleared out their fucking gift shop. They have
Yeah.
all this inventory sitting there rotting.
Yeah,
They
come on.
have
What?
her spell book is in this gift shop, isn't it? Like the
Yeah.
spell book with the human eye on it.
belongs in a museum.
She shows them Winifred's
Wait,
spell
it isn't
book.
a museum.
Like, they're not safely storing any of this stuff.
No.
Like, what the fuck?
Like these texts are hundreds of years old, and
It's amazing an incident hasn't happened with the spellbook before, because this thing is capable of some pretty serious damage.
And it's so easy to get in there. There's a book that was a witch's book,
Yeah.
and it's bound in human flesh. Like,
it has an eyeball.
I would steal it tomorrow
Yeah.
if I knew where that thing was. I want that thing.
and it seems to be written in
And I'm not a
English.
fucking teenage punk.
It's not even in Latin or anything. You can just open it and read it in
yeah,
English.
you have all these spells right at your fingertips.
It's like reading a Dickens novel or something. Little old fashioned.
Even if the spells don't work, it's just a cool fucking artifact to have.
It's pretty funny when Max grabs his Zippo just to show how fucking cool he is. He has to light it with a Zippo trick.
Oh yeah.
Did he do a Zippo
He
trip?
does the Zippo. He does it the one where he like opens it on his pants.
Oh, that's
did
a cool
Did you ever
trick.
do that where you just like
Yeah.
you pull it back and you open it up?
Yeah.
That was
Eddie-
a nice one.
That hit home for me.
That hit home.
Allison was so impressed.
Oh man, there was like zippotricks.com or something when I was like, I don't know, in grade 10. Like
you had
me
a
and my
Zippo-
friends thought it was the coolest.
It
thing.
was
Yeah.
the
It was
coolest.
like you spin it around on your thumb or whatever.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that way.
do the little finger flick. If you had a Zippo,
Yeah.
you had to do Zippo tricks.
I did one that was just like one of my easier ones was like a karate chop. You kind of hold it in one hand and you could just, like in one quick smooth motion like hit it open and then chop the
Yeah.
fucking thing.
And then I stopped buying Zippos because lighters get lost all the time,
Yeah,
and
they're
it's
like
a lot more
$40.
infuriating when it was a $40 over
And also
$5
when you're smoking a
lighter.
bowl, the Zippo fuel makes your weed taste weird.
Yeah, and they run out of fuel all the time, and then
So
you-
fast,
Your
yeah.
fingers stink after you fill them up.
So anyway, she shows them Winifred's spell book. It contains all the recipes for her most powerful and evil spells. She points out the black flame candle, which somehow isn't behind glass. They're just like, there's a candle out in the fucking open.
Yeah, and if you light this, if a virgin lights this candle, virgin, mind you.
Yeah.
It's made from the fat of a hanged man.
Ooh, I like that.
Nice. That's like a Fight Club.
Yes.
That's what they make the soap out of.
This
in
is
Fight
Tyler
Club.
Durden's Witch Museum.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, let's just say lit by a virgin on a full moon, it will raise spirits from the dead. And he right away is like, let's light the sucker and meet the old broads. I'm like, oh my God, he admitted.
Party.
He's a virgin.
It's like, you want to do the honors? She's like, no, I'm a stud.
I think that's kind of cool on his part. I mean, he is super cool. But he just admits he's a virgin, which
Yeah.
is like more than I would have done at that time.
Yeah, and they don't make too much of it, but they just talk about virgins a lot in this kids movie.
They bring it up constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah, the witches kind of tease him about it.
they do. The witches do. The
witch
other
lit the
kids don't really
candle.
tease him or anything.
At the that's like the kind of the what closes the movie out is a little dig at him from Binks about being a virgin.
Binks wasn't a virgin.
Not bad, virgin.
He just fucked cats.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
what, you fucked a bunch
Oh.
of fucking stray cats?
They didn't neuter cats in the 17th century or whatever.
he is
No,
an
hell no.
alley cat Tom who's been around for 300 years. He's seen a lot of strains.
So speaking of Banks, he gets his triumphant reappearance here.
sired many kittens, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yet he had to eat his own children.
I wonder if he'll see his kitten children when he goes to human heaven or how that works.
Well, I think pets go to a different heaven, no?
Aw.
They go, okay, let me just check my map. They go over the Rainbow Bridge.
Yes. Let me look at my chain of being from the 18th century philosophers or whatever. Oh yes, cat is below human in the grand hierarchy. Different heaven.
Cats go to cat heaven. People go to people heaven.
All dogs go to heaven.
So
Good movie.
we get a trope that I really like, which is the jumping cat. So Max is about to light the candle here, and Thackeray in cat form jumps on his face.
I like that they called him Binks from here
Binks
on
is
out.
a better name. That's a good
Yeah.
cat name.
That's a great cat
I'm
name.
sure many cats are named Binks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you better believe it.
All of them oily, black as midnight.
And so Max, he's too cool to be scared off by Binks, so he lights the candle. And boys, those witches come back to life, I don't mind telling you, and they are spooky and they are scary.
And they have teeth.
Did you mention how he goes, oh, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They
And I'm doing
mentioned the name
Leonardo
of this
DiCaprio
movie.
sit up at the screen and point.
That actually happens in multiple points in this movie. This might be one of the few movies where they say the title of the movie.
Well, the witches, they kind of jeer at him. They throw it back at him later when
Yeah.
they're
One
really
of the few
messing with him.
movies where they say the title of the movie.
Multiple times. Usually it's a one and done name drop.
Finally, the witches are back in the movie. 30 minutes exactly, like to the nose, is when we see them again.
It's one of the rules of screenwriting. 30 minutes in.
That's when you got to drop your witches.
Yeah.
Mary,
Drop your witches, drop your britches. 30 minutes.
Mary, Kathy Najimy's character, she's smelling the children that they're hiding, and Danny pops out in her witch regalia, and they're like, "Oh, hi! And, oh, she's so well fed, Shishka baby."
She plays it up to, she tries to do some kind of subterfuge on the witches here where she's like, I'm one of you. Like,
Welcome back.
the devil, I love the devil, dancing with the devil, going to dinner with the devil, whatever witches do.
Yeah.
They don't buy it, though.
Not for a second.
Max jumps out and she just kind of launches Max into the air with force lightning. And then Allison hits Mary with the witch's broom, and Max climbs into the rafters, and he's like, "You messed with the wrong wizard. I summon the burning rain of death."
Cool Zippo trick.
Yeah, he holds his Zippo up to the sprinkler system
Yeah.
They don't
That doesn't work,
understand.
does it?
and destroys all those priceless artifacts.
Yes,
I think
this kid sucks.
that might work because the way those sprinkler systems work is there's a glass tube in the sprinkler, and heat is what makes the glass tube explode.
Nice, you actually.
Actually, there's a certain kind of dark magic at play here. That
In
I think
movies,
is a-
if you hold a lighter to a sprinkler, water goes everywhere, and that's
and witches are fearful of it.
But yeah.
They might be like the Wizard of Oz witch. Maybe they're afraid water will.
well, it was worth a try. I mean, I'm sure he saw
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
It's a cultural touchstone there as well.
It certainly tricked them a little bit because then they start writhing around on the floor and screaming like
Yeah.
"Ah!" And they're surprised that he can make fire with his hand with his Zippo. So
Psychosomatic.
they think that he's a little magical, but they realize in pretty short order that he's full of crap.
Yeah, they're not very smart. So Max grabs the spell book and flees the museum. And yeah, before long, the witches figure out they've been duped.
Yeah.
And they go outside and they're like, "What is this?" And they're looking at an asphalt street.
'Tis firm as stone.
They think it's a black river. At first, they're afraid to cross it. They're like, "Yeah, tis an oily river," or whatever they say. But no, yeah, they're fish out of water characters. They're going to be encountering a lot of stuff throughout this movie where it's like, "Oh, we're from the 1600s. We don't know what this is like. What Halloween?"
Not enough of that, frankly. I feel like
They
by
should
the
have played
third
it out
act, they
more.
really throw that away. And it's like, whatever. We have like Bette Midler using an iPad and shit. Like she just all of a sudden is like a 21st century expert.
So is this where they resurrect a corpse, or is there some more to do before
Yeah, well, a
that
fire
happens?
truck goes to the museum and it scares them. And Midler delivers a whole bunch of exposition. She's like, "Now we have until sunrise to consume the kids' souls.
Don't
or else
forget."
we'll cease to exist."
This spell only lasts till sunrise.
Yeah, there's a whole thing at play here. The rest of the movie, they're going to be chasing these kids to get the spell book back because they can't remember the exact spell because they need to eat a child to become younger. So that's the entire motivation. That's the way the rest of the movie plays out is them.
Yeah, if they mess up their potion, then they might get turned into a newt or something like that.
Or an older woman. I turned 10 years older instead of 10 years younger.
So yeah,
A hag.
then they rendezvous with Thackeray in the graveyard. Binks.
Because it's hollowed ground. You can
Yeah.
go into a graveyard.
He's sitting on Emily's grave. Now, one detail I liked in this movie, I'm sure these weren't real graveyards, but the gravestones, those are legit looking. Like they have that weird looking cherub with the angel wings.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
I
nice-
saw that in all the old cemeteries in Massachusetts. That was like the proprietary guy. He like I went to like Paul Revere's grave and Samuel Adams and like all these guys like Benjamin
got Angel
Franklin's
Man.
family were buried there, and they all had like those kind of gravestones. They look super.
Angel Man, trademark.
So yeah, Binks delivers a bunch of obvious exposition as well.
These people are witches.
Yeah,
You need to run away from them.
3 hags against the 20th century. How bad could it be? And Binks is like, bad.
Ooh, it's gonna be
Really
bad, Max.
bad.
The witches appear on brooms above them, laughing.
I liked this because I was thinking, well, why don't they just stay in the graveyard the whole time? And they immediately address that and bring a zombie to life and start like jeering at them from their brooms.
Yeah, William Butcherson, played by Doug Jones.
So
the
you see-
great Doug Jones.
You
I
see
love
Doug
him.
Jones in the credits, and you think he's just going to play a normal person who doesn't have any unusual movement characteristics or anything like that. But of course, he's like this weird zombie thing. Just
For those who don't know, Doug Jones is a strange, thin contortionist man who plays a lot of makeup-heavy, acrobatic-type roles where he has to make weird shapes with his body.
He's an amazing physical performer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
worked
always in costume.
and he's always been he works with Guillermo del Toro a lot.
Yeah, like
he was
in
the
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, he's the guy with the eyes in the hands in
He's like-
Pan's Labyrinth. He's the
Hand-Eye
the
man.
fish gill guy in Hellboy.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
the fish gill guy in Shape of Water. Yeah, I love
He's
Doug
good in
Jones.
this.
Yeah, he's always
Yeah.
great.
Billy Butcher, That's the name from The
Boys.
Boys. Yeah, the main character in The Boys.
I'm gonna get you, Homelander. Oi, Winnie, you fucking cunt. Get us a beer, love. Winnie, get us a beer.
We don't know his motivations. His mouth is all stitched up. He's Winifred's ex who cheated on Winifred, and she now can cast a spell to make him come out of the grave and chase people.
Yeah,
Follow those children, you maggot museum.
pretty mean.
He's
Yeah,
creepy.
she's very mean to him.
I'll have your guts for garters.
And I got at one point, Sarah Jessica Parker and him are kind of winking eyes at each other.
She's winking eyes at everybody.
Maybe she's the one that he cheated on.
So horny.
Oh, maybe.
They don't go into that though.
But the kids get away. They go through some drain pipe. The witches can't follow them. And
Yeah.
then-
Max bends a tree back and knocks Billy's head off.
now the witches, they go and get on a bus for some reason. Like, why can't they fly? What happened to their brooms?
Hey, they gotta go on they went trick or treating out in the village,
right.
and
Okay,
some
so they
children
let- yeah,
stole
yeah.
their brooms.
Oh, right.
yeah. They go to the devil's house.
So they catch a bus ride with I don't know what this is, like the Bronx Special with local service in Salem. Like, I don't know what this guy's doing. This guy's got the most stereotypical Italian, East Coast Italian guy you've ever seen in a movie is a bus driver in Massachusetts.
He's very flirtatious too. He's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what are you ladies? Witches? Hey, what are you?"
looking for? And they're like, we want children. He's like, take me a few tries, but I can help you with that.
Hey, won't you hop on?
Good line.
Kind of funny. Another thing they're doing a lot in this movie is they talk about mother. They love their mother. I'm sure that's something that like fans in the movie quote a ton. They go, mother.
Oh, I was looking at Hocus Pocus 3 information earlier, and I think Mother might come back.
Oh, I bet they have
in
some
the Hocus
big
Pocus
star.
sequels. Yeah.
People have been waiting to see who this mother is.
Yeah.
So, Sarah's sitting on this bus driver's lap, and she's steering the bus. She's being all flirty with him, and then Binks pops out of a manhole, and she sees him, and she steers the bus into him and squishes his ass.
Hey, speed bump.
Yeah. So then the
Yeah.
kids come out after him and see him squished, and they cry for a second.
This
and
is horrific. It's like something out of a Roadrunner cartoon where like Wile E. Coyote gets run over by a car. You can like see the tire treads across this cat's body.
yeah, like Wile E. Coyote would like stick his thumb in his mouth and blow himself back
Yeah.
up.
And I feel
That's
like
what this cat does. So they stop the bus. Mary smells children, and the bus driver's like, "Come on, can I get your number, potty pooper?"
she sits on his lap. Sarah Jessica
Yeah.
Parker, lucky guy, sits on his lap while he's driving the bus, and he's like teaching her like, "Oh, this is how you steer the wheel left."
Yeah,
This say go right.
he's got a big boner,
Big time.
big hard cock.
Farewell, mortal bus driver.
Yeah,
like,
so-
can I get your number? What?
So there's kids trick or treating everywhere, all around them, and they're like, "I smell children." But they see the kids and they're all in costume. And she's like, "Oh, hobgoblins!" And then a little girl dressed like an angel says, "Bless you," and curtsies, and they scream. And she's like, "I smell children,
Brilliant.
but I don't see children." And that's when we get Gary Marshall as a devil. He's in a devil costume. It's not even a good devil costume. Like, it's not convincing at all. It's like,
The kid in Problem Child has a better devil costume
Yeah.
than this guy.
yeah.
It's the funny Halloween store costume of the devil with the goofy ears and a red cape and
Yeah,
a
yeah,
pokey
yeah.
tail.
Yeah, it's not like a mask or anything. But they're like, "Master," and he invites them in. And this is this is a pretty funny scene. The kids are walking down the street, and a cop pulls up, and they flag him down, and they tell him everything. And he's like, "And you lit the black flame candle? And you're a virgin?" And he's like, "Just get lost, kids." And then a girl comes out of the liquor store, and he's like, "They thought I was a real cop."
Hey, he like tears a piece of him. He's like, "Hey, I put my life on the line to protect this community, and you pulled this? Get lost!"
But he's not a cop.
No.
That's crazy that you could go on like a cop motorcycle with full cop regalia. That's just not allowed on
That's
Halloween. or anytime.
dedication to a costume. You have to buy vehicles and decals and all kinds of stickers at that point.
That is not allowed, and you'd be putting people in serious danger if you do that.
Yes.
This movie's fucking ridiculous.
Some of us like to live dangerously.
So he rides over this manhole cover on his motorbike, and it cuts off Billy's fingers, who's peeking out from under that. So Billy just keeps getting hurt, and it's funny.
Yeah.
You're supposed to laugh.
I'm laughing.
Good. Yeah, I like it when he gets.
Meanwhile, at Satan's house, we get to see that Gary Marshall's wife, and she's just swilling bourbon and chain smoking and watching
Penny
her
Marshall.
programs. Penny Marshall.
Of course.
Oh.
So we have both
SNL
great
and
filmmakers.
alum?
They're brother and sister in real life.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, filmmakers of many great films and not so great films. But yeah, she's smoking,
She's smoking.
which I love seeing in a movie, kids movie or otherwise. They call her Medusa. She just has those old flexible hair curlers in her hair.
Yeah.
I think
She's
Yeah.
got her bacaladas in.
I meant. Was that what they're
That's
called?
what my mom calls them.
Oh, is that like Ukrainian?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, my mom had them too when I was a kid growing up, and I loved playing with them. They were like, you can kind of like bend them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Are those the ones that were like a clamp?
No, they're
That you
like
could
they're like
clamp?
a little tube kind of, right?
Yeah. So you
Okay.
put
And
your,
they're flexible and they're like pink and purple.
yeah, and you put them in, and you put some spray on, and kind of gives your hair some more body, some more volume.
Okay. Very.
Follow
80s.
high and low for more beauty tips and tricks.
Yeah. If you want your hair to look like a grandma's hair.
If you want to look like Penny Marshall in 1993.
We should do that for the pod.
Yes.
So, yeah, she's drinking a rum and coke. Aren't you broads a little old to be trick or treating? And they're like, we'll be younger in the morning. And she's like, yeah, sure, me too.
Wanna
So
bump,
true.
bump, bump.
Just what you expect from an Italian bus driver.
But those dumbass witches, they left their brooms outside, and some girls in costume passing by, they take their brooms. They're like, oh, cool brooms.
yeah. Wait, that's before the devilry, right?
Oh, probably.
What devilry?
Then they go into
devil
Gary
house.
Marshall's house.
No. That's after. That's when they're
Okay.
at Gary Marshall's house.
Okay.
Why
then
were
they come out
on
and
the
their brooms are
fucking
missing.
bus?
They left their brooms outside to go into the devil's house.
Why'd they take? I
This
like
is-
public transit. I'm glad they're supporting it, but I don't even think
Yeah.
they paid the fare.
That's the thing about
Why
this
didn't they
movie.
take the bus?
Nothing's fucking happening. Just a bunch of shit happening,
I
but
like it.
nothing's happening.
It's like Wim
I
Wenders'
hate
Perfect
movies.
Day.
So Winnie goes to the kitchen. Ooh, a torture chamber. Mary's watching the TV. She shrieks at the old DuPont Stainmaster carpet commercial where the baby's knocking all kinds of shit over to the saber dance. I remember that commercial. It's like one of those things that's like stuck in my head. It's just unlocked a core memory. They chase the witches with their hellhound terrier, Ralph. The witches leave? Yeah, they get chased away by their...
Oh yeah. Ralph's like a little baby chihuahua. The Winifred, they're in the devil's house, Gary Marshall's house, and they're calling him master, but he has a wife. He's a henpecked devil, and the wife is so upset to see him, people calling him master and stuff, that she sticks her like little chihuahua or like one of those tiny little cute miniature dog
A
breeds
lap
on
dog.
them, and it chases them out of the house, and
They're like, hellhound.
they refuse to leave at first, and then she's like, oh yeah, here comes Hellhound.
So now we get an exterior shot of the actual old town hall of Salem, where the big party's happening. I saw this place and my walking tour started there. Really nice old building. So yeah, that's the actual Salem town hall.
Is that where they tried the witches and said, hey,
No,
we're gonna burn you?
I think that building's more recently built than the witch trials. I don't
Okay.
think that building goes back that far. It's a pretty nice brick building. Yeah.
Fair enough. It was probably but like 2 goat shacks and like a homestead back then.
You've got pretty basic like the witch type buildings is like the time.
Yeah.
They didn't have
I don't know what's
beautiful
going on
buildings
in that town hall, but I don't think you could have a rager in our town hall like what's going on in a Hocus Pocus. It's a big party.
And like City
Well,
Hall.
Yeah.
It's a smaller town. I mean, I can
City,
see that.
Stuff happens around City Hall though, like on the streets and stuff.
They have
you know.
farmers markets and stuff there.
Sure.
There's a fountain.
So
Isn't there a
inside the town hall, there's a raging party, and this is where all of the parents in
That's
the
a
entire
fountain.
town
I've
are.
been using it as a urinal.
fountain? I've been drinking out of it. Oh no.
Kids playing everywhere. I'm pissing in it. You're drinking it.
I love Edmund.
Yeah, of course, everybody has amazing costumes because it's a movie. dad is there. He's in a Dracula costume, not an amazing, just a regular one.
It's kind of like the type of Dracula costume I would have.
I have the exact one,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's my favorite costume.
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
And then it's got this Richard Cheese swankifying band that's just covering old standards like witchcraft.
What Jack Frost did for the Christmas band, this band does for the Halloween band. They're just doing like all the "I put a spell on you" and really putting a lot of mustard on it, and they're
pretty good.
They're dressed like Baron Samedi.
It looks. I wonder if I didn't check the credits. I wonder if they're an actual band.
I did. It was, yeah. The guy is credited, but it doesn't say much about his page. It's
Not quite
like,
the Mighty
this
Mighty.
guy did Hocus Pocus. He was the band leader. And
Yeah.
and
was
he's
thinking,
good.
like,
They're
he
not
could've
quite
been
the
a
Mighty Mighty
Wainwright.
Bosstones, but there's definitely some ska going on here.
Yeah, major ska element.
It's not dead. It's dead, Kula.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's why you pay the big bucks for Charles Rocket.
Yeah. So these kids, bunch of party poopers they are, just go and stop the entire thing dead. They steal the microphone from the guy, and they have a bit of a funny exchange where the guy doesn't want to give up the microphone. He's like, "Hey, we're playing a show here. What the fuck's wrong with you?"
Yeah, the kids are there at the party too, and they're trying to explain everything to their parents. And their mom's dressed like Madonna, but yeah,
Madonna
has,
with the big
they're not
pointy
buying
boobs.
it, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Pointed
we're
bosom.
supposed to just find that fucking hilarious too.
Yes.
I am
Isn't Madonna funny?
raffling. I'm
you
rolling
imagine?
on the floor at this stage. No, I do like a pointy bosom.
So what happens next with the women in the band?
I don't know. The witches show
The
up.
witches, yeah.
They all show up, and you better believe if you have Bette Midler in your movie, you gotta fucking sing.
This is her showstopper. She does. She takes over.
Fucking finally.
Max does it like an accusation where he's like, "I must tell you all, they're the three Sanderson sisters that you're all so obsessed with here in Salem. They're in this very room," and points to them, and the spotlight goes on them, and
He's doing such a shit job getting the point across.
it doesn't work at all. Bette Midler takes the whole show over and does her Broadway style show-stopping rendition of "I Put a Spell on You," and she's pointing at people and glitter's flying everywhere, and it's a great thing.
So I
Everybody's
know
loving
Kathy
it.
Najimy can sing because she's in Sister Act.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker must be singing too. They're singing backup
Yeah.
for Bette Midler in this, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's Sarah's Sanderson's thing is she sings too.
They almost ended up like a Temptations style group or something like that, where they're on the stage and Bette Midler is like the front woman and she's doing the pointing and the glitter throwing. And
I just really feel like you could have cut out some plot points in this movie and put in musical numbers.
Yeah, there should
And,
be.
and replace the exposition
It's a
dumps
Disney
with
kids movie.
musical numbers. Like
There
you
should be
have-
more music.
You have awesome musical stars in your fucking movie. Like,
in hindsight, this should be a musical.
yeah, full
Really?
on. Yeah.
That's a missed opportunity.
You have
Another.
this is and Kenny Ortega who directed it. That's all he does is musicals. He directed Newsies. He directed High School Musical. Like,
He's a choreographer usually. Like music is his life.
yeah, it's just crazy to me that there's not more music.
But this one's pretty good, and by the end of the song, all the adults are just loving it. They're dancing, and the spell that Winnie puts on the crowd is they have to dance. Dance until you
They're
die.
dancing too much. Max is like yelling at them, like, "I don't listen, or she'll make you dance too much."
Kid, it's a party.
Make you dance too much. Yeah. So the kids leave the party, and Max kicks some garbage cans in the back alley out of frustration. There's like a chef. He goes outside. There's a lobster tank in the
I
alley.
love this chef.
What's up with that? He's like, "Who's next for the jacuzzi?"
Okay, fellas, who's going in the jacuzzi? Oh, Andre, that's too bad.
Like they're still dodging the witches, so they're ducking into every weird alley hole they can crawl into to hide from these witches who are sniffing them out, hot on their trail.
Everybody in this movie loves their job. The witches love being witches. That bus driver's having the time of his life.
It reminds
Oh,
me
is
of
he
the
ever, man.
like the Munchkins in Oz, like the Lollipop Guild. They love being part of the guild. The Lullaby League. They love being. It's like it's part of their nature.
Man, I want to be a bus driver in Salem, though.
Yeah.
If you're pulling that kind of tail.
Oh yeah, man.
So, yeah, they see the witches coming down the alley, and Mary's like, "I smell scrod. Delicious with breadcrumbs and butter or olive oil." And, like, Winnie just, like, slaps her. She's like, "Shut up."
Bottom feeders. Scrod sounded like a rude word, like a part, like a nasty name for a private parts or something.
So they go to the school, and the
Got
witch-
her.
got her ass.
This is so weird.
Please,
You know,
Vanessa Shaw, call me.
I mean, it makes sense to kill a witch in an oven because Hansel and Gretel that's how they killed their witch.
Yeah.
But a school does not generally have a big room that is just an oven. It looks like a normal room.
Oh,
Depends
yeah.
what kind of school we're talking about.
Oh yeah, for your school, you're definitely going to want a 2-witch boiler. You're definitely going 3-witch boiler.
Right under
How many
the
snowmen
gymnasium.
can it fit?
It's like this is like a room with a latching door that people can go inside, and then fire just shoots out of the floor. It's like
Hello.
it's
Yes.
not even like a boiler room or anything.
I'm from the PTA. I'm going around. I'm getting a petition. Our school, we need to get a bigger furnace. Right now, we only have a 3 Jack Frost furnace. We'd like to upgrade it to a 5 or maybe 6 Jack Frost furnace. Good enough for at least all the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah, we got to get a few Sanderson sisters in there.
The only academic
What
reason.
an unsafe thing to have in a fucking school, though. Like,
But
you
you
could
know-
push a dozen school children in there and incinerate them to ashes, and there'd be nothing left.
Great way to burn books, though.
It's a
Great way if there's some literature that doesn't fit in with the current, standards, governmental standards. You can throw them in that room and.
So they go to the school. The witches aren't far behind. They're like, oh, a prison for children. And
Which is true.
Relatable.
Yeah. And Max is on the intercom, and he's like, I'm Max, Boris Karloff Jr.
He gets a little goofy with it
This is
here.
really
He's like
stupid.
he's doing like the writing like a fisheye lens into the camera. He puts glasses on and a backwards hat, and he's like, "Hey, I'm taking over the school intercom now. I control over you witches."
Hey, I have a personality all of a sudden.
Yeah, what? Where'd this come from?
I'm Max. I'm hip. I'm cool and funny.
And I'm 42. So, yeah, he's like, read any good spell books lately? And he lures them into the burner with the tape recorder with their voices on it, right?
Yeah.
And then they lock them in there, they fire it up, and you just kind of see a plume of green smoke rise from the chimney as the kids and Binks celebrate.
It's the false climax. This is like the.
I wish the movie would have ended.
Really?
here. That's where I
Truly.
paused and I'm like, we're halfway through this fucking movie.
You think that they have burned up into a green smoke, but they're just hanging in the air above the crematorium.
So yeah, it's like Return of the Living Dead, where all this green smoke
Yeah.
billows out.
Yeah.
And looks fine, and
It's gonna rain back down.
they think it's all good. That everybody's saying their goodbyes. Binks is kind of walking off, and Max is like, "Hey, Binks, where are you going?"
Why don't you be our cat now? You're part of
What's
the
his last
Dennison family.
Yeah,
Binks is like,
you're a Dennison, buddy.
Yeah.
Binks is like, I'm still sad about my sister, but take good care of Danny, Max. You'll never know how precious she is until you lose her. I'm like, can we not have this emotional fucking
Yeah.
jerk-off session in the middle of the movie?
Binks is a downer.
Binks is the worst. But Max wants to keep Binks, and what are you gonna do with an immortal cat? Because sure, you like Binks. Then you got to pass him on to your kids. And
Danny brings that up later, where she's like, "I'll love you forever, Binks, and my children will love you, and their children will love you."
I mean,
and-
that's not bad. If you have a cool talking immortal
is.
cat, I would pass that on.
But it would just, I
don't
feel like it
want
would
it. I
never
don't think-
work out that
You wouldn't
way.
want it?
keep your talking cat, Dad.
I mean, you
Fine, I would give it to a friend.
you just know, like 2 generations from now, the Dennison family is going to be crack whores, or it's not going to work out for
They're going to be
Jesus.
crack whores.
things.
The signs are there.
Things trend downwards. Very rarely do people escape their social class. I don't
know, man. You could play fucking football, gridiron football, in Max's bedroom. I think he's gonna be okay.
Oh, Max is a drummer, so
All the
you can-
more
that-
room
that's
for
all you
crack.
need to know. This kid's no future.
Yeah, he's a bum.
He's a no good, washed up bum.
They're gonna all be crack whores. That's the part Disney's not telling you.
That's what Hocus Pocus 3 is about.
So so Max and Allison, they're all there with Danny and everything, and they snuggle up and they just like sleep together. All of this shit is wild.
Yeah.
The cat thing is fucking wild.
Yeah, this
Max
is
like sleeping with Allison on
witch.
top of her, on top of him. Like he's just
he is
His
glancing
dreams came true.
upon her bosoms,
He's
like
got 'em.
Caleb and Thomason earlier.
yeah.
He's feeling she is entering her womanhood, and he is he's
Maxwell, what are these impure thoughts in your mind? Didst thou glare at Allison's bosom?
say thy prayer. What is thy sin?
Didst thou pop an erection? Didst thou get bricked up.
My sin is lust, father.
I'm gonna have to go and self-scourge after this episode. So their
Maxwell, take the cat of nine tails. Self-flagellate yourself.
Yeah. There was not nearly enough flagellation in The Witch. That's one thing I could have used more of.
Yeah, I mean they're not that extreme if they're not whipping
Yeah.
themselves.
Pathetic.
Yeah. So their parents aren't home. They're still dancing at the stupid party. So it's like, maybe those witches' powers are still working. So the witches come out unharmed, a la Jack Frost.
Mm-hmm.
They come upon Bulk and Skull, who are sick from eating candy. They're like, "Oh, we had too much candy," and they're standing by a house that's all toilet papered up.
They TP'd the shit out of that house. It's just covered, like
Yeah.
like
It's
a
like-
Costco-sized pack of toilet paper. They just unloaded on
Oh
it.
yeah,
99% of the surface of this house is covered in toilet paper. It's amazing.
it's ridiculous.
Must have taken hours.
And now they're like, "What do we do now?" And they're like, "Well, it's too late to sneak around and try to watch girls undress." So then the witches come up on them, and they're like, "How come it's always the ugly chicks that stay out late?"
Big mistake. These witches are vain witches.
Oh, yeah.
They
Bette
don't like
Midler's
that.
like, "Chicks."
What is a chick?
So cut to those bullies being in cages
Good.
in the witches' homes. Yeah, that's where they belong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Drop those cages into fire.
To lower it into the cauldron.
Open the acid pits.
That'd be sweet.
Winnie's trying to remember how to concoct this potion. She's like, "Well, Mary, you stand there, and Sarah, you dance in the back idiotically." And she's trying to jar her memory by setting everything the way it was.
Here's Mitch's favorite
Dead
part.
man's
Yeah,
toe.
it-
Dead man's toe.
That's good writing.
Great foreshadowing.
Comes back around.
She's calling out to the book. It's not coming.
Yeah, they still haven't got the book at this point. They need the book to. She doesn't know the spell.
It's safe at the Dennison house.
So Max and Allison, they wake up. It's 4 a.m. Stupid bastards decide to open up the spell book to try and find some way to help Binks. They're like, "Hey, maybe we should open it up. It's fucking it's not even sunrise. Maybe we should just cast some spells."
That
Hey,
sounds
idea.
good. I'm stupid, so that sounds good to me.
I'm gonna make a potion. Danny, go get me some hemlock.
So they open the fucking book and it sends out a huge beacon. You can see clear across town.
I wish we found Max's true voice earlier in the episode. Duh, I'm really cool. Dad, look, they got Zippo lighters.
The Halloween candy companies made Halloween so good.
I could do a Zippo trick.
Daddy, you made fun of me in front of the whole boys' class and the class of my boys in the class.
All the boys in school. It's just those two fucking jerk offs.
Dad, Allison, you like Halloween?
Yes, Danny, I like Halloween. Why don't you? Oh, Max, that's his name.
Yeah. I don't think it just bears repeating that like Vanessa Shaw is like really hot. I don't know how old she is in this, but like
She's like 16.
okay, but
But it
As an
it does
adult.
bear repeating.
as as an adult,
Dude, yeah.
like she should have nothing to do with this fucking dork.
For real. California cool or not.
He sucks.
You're talking about Omri Katz.
Max, can you tell me about surfing? What's California like? Really? You can pick avocados right off a tree there?
Wow.
I've never even heard of an avocado because it's 1993 in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
People
nobody's
our
ever
age.
heard of one there.
We don't make toast out of that stuff yet.
So the witches, they're like, "Oh, we need brooms." So they search the janitorial closet. They find one corn broom, a dirty used mop, and a vacuum cleaner, and they fly off on
And
those.
from here, the
fucking
jokes
things.
write themselves.
We're dying, aren't we?
We're dying, folks. We're dying in here.
It's some pretty impressive wire work going on here. Bette Midler's soaring off into the air on a wire.
I think the special effects are pretty solid throughout the movie.
Decent.
Overall, yeah, there's nothing. Even Binks's stupid talking cat mouth, which I'm not a fan of when they animate the mouths. I like the Homeward Bound approach where they just kind of
Oh, yeah,
they can read each
thoughts.
other's thoughts or whatever's going on there.
Read each other's thoughts.
I know you can read
Hey.
my thoughts.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow mix, please deliver.
Apparently, this is there's so much trivia on this movie, and you better believe that it's almost entirely useless. But I guess Sarah Jessica Parker, as all trivia, Sarah Jessica Parker apparently found the harness while riding the broom so comfortable that whenever they did breaks, she just hang out in her flat, like floating on her
just
broom.
hang in the harness.
Yeah, so that's
Wow, it's like
seems
a
nice.
hammock.
Yeah, I don't know how that could be comfortable, but
Chill
you know,
out between takes. Nice.
Just float. I'd just float around on a broom for a bit if I could.
Yeah. Mitch is like, I'd give her something to
Oh,
ride.
I was just thinking, I wish I was her broom.
My mustache.
Hey, Sarah Jessica Parker, why don't you bring that broom over here and clean my house? Oh, you got to keep your house in order. You got to keep your house clean.
If you want Sarah Jessica Parker to sit on your face, you gotta clean your fucking house.
Kermit,
I'm
the
just
psychologist
Sick
here.
of guys not being able to score with 18th
Sarah.
century witches.
Jessica Parker.
Actually, the key to her masculinity is you need to open an 18th century witch's tome, and then you get a Zippo lighter and you do a Zippo lighter trick. The Zippo lighter tricks increase your testosterone, and then you can get your house in order.
They are pretty cool. I can't argue.
Okay, so the witches fly off and they sneak into the house and they take Danny and Banks and the fucking spell book. And it's a
We
pretty
have
good
your
effect. They
friends.
actually like fly out through the roof and like break it open, and it's like a big explosion, all like Gremlins.
Yeah.
Pretty dramatic. This is where, Allison's throwing the salt around in a circle. She's like, you can't take me because I've got a circle of salt, which is a classic weapon to use against the supernatural.
We tried using that on Mitch to keep him out of his house, but
It didn't work. My skin's all dry now.
Shriveled up like a slug.
have a salt bath, fiend. But yeah, the witches have all the cards now. It's not looking good for our heroes, Max and Allie.
Yeah, so they're flying over the town, and this is where Sarah sings a song to lure all the kids out of their homes. Of course, all the adults, every single adult in town is at Salem's town hall.
It's the place to
Partying
be.
Doing
so
the dance.
good.
They can't stop dancing.
They're
and
hand jiving till their hands fall off.
all the
Man.
kids are either in bed or still out on the streets, so a lot of them are in pajamas, but they're getting lured to fucking his house.
What a tasty morsel.
Yeah, and so the witches are gonna eat all the children in Salem, and there's only two people who are immune to their spell: Max and Allison.
Why are they immune?
I don't know.
Maybe they're too old.
Maybe
There's-
too old.
too old you are. Can't be transfixed by Sarah Jessica Parker's spell, you can.
When he's powerful, but not that powerful.
But yeah, they're too young to be lured by the Pied Piper spell of Sarah Jessica Parker, but they're too old to be lured by that spell, and they're too young to be transfixed by Winifred's spell that transfixed the adult. They're just in the right age range where they can fight these witches.
They're in the Goldilocks zone, and so they head off back to the Sanderson
Just
sisters.
right.
You know what I love about high schools? Girls.
Just please delete my comments about Vanessa Shaw. I just meant I had a huge crush on her when I was a kid, okay?
Yeah, we were all...
And she's very attractive and Eyes Wide Shut.
We'll sell Allison to another family on the morrow.
Her sluttish ways have confounded Luke.
So the kids, Max and Allison, go to the witch's house. Danny's tied up in a chair just like little Emily was at the start of the movie. Binks is in a sack. He's just suspended there.
Right by the fire.
It's the
Yeah.
best place for a cat that's gonna try to ruin your plans.
He's
Max
getting
is
a slow
like-
roast.
Yeah, Max is like, there's one thing more powerful than magic. Knowledge. And there's one thing I know that you don't. And Bette Midler's like,
And what's that, dude?
Daylight savings time.
Oh shit!
And
And
here-
a big bright light comes to the windows.
Yeah.
They
Red,
brought
red
like some
light.
kind of hardcore outcore Jeep with a fancy headlight rig on it, and they're shining it. And witches don't understand
They
headlights.
put like lighting gels over top or something like that to
Okay.
make the lights red and
make it
trick
look
them.
scarier to a witch.
And they're fooled again. They're duped by this Max.
Yeah. It's a bit of a, what do you call it, psychosomatic. They all just fall on the ground into a coma. And yeah, it's a
How embarrassing.
placebo. It's a placebo effect. They're getting blasted by the lights and they think they're dying, but
You're
it's
this-
actually not true.
Yeah, they recoil. Max knocks over their cauldron.
You're a super powerful witch, and you have centuries of knowledge, and you're thwarted by a kid named Max.
They didn't have headlights back then.
Dude.
They didn't. This world is very confusing to them. They don't understand
But
roads. They
Somehow
don't-
she knows he's from California and that Californians say dude. I was like, how does she pick up on
Believe
picking
it
on
or not,
Californians?
there was dude ranches back in my day. That's where the term originates. He was like a man who used to work on a dude ranch.
We made fun of those avocado munching Californians even in my time.
Avocado.
Give me those sneakers. So yeah,
Almond milk, dude.
so Max, he takes his sneakers back from the bullies, leaves them locked up in the cages, and the witches realize they've been duped yet again. They're running out of time. I really want to get that rat-faced child. She called me ugly.
Yeah. Well, it's a horrible situation because they literally have lured 100 children to come to their hut. But Winifred has been so insulted by Danny calling her ugly that she does not want to eat one of these hundreds of children. She wants to specifically go after this. It's going to be her own undoing. Is her
Danny does look like a pretty sweet morse.
much like William. Winifred's sin is pride, I think, and that's why
That's why these
that's
movies
her
are a
undoing.
perfect pairing.
Yeah.
It's the only connected tissue, actually.
Wow, they're New England witch stories. So yeah, she's like, I've always wanted a child.
On toast.
I'm sure everybody
That was a
laughs
bad
and
joke.
claps in the theater when they see that.
I'm going to spread you like an avocado,
That
dude.
was one where even I cringed.
You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to afford a mortgage for all the avocado toast. I cursed you. Take that, millennials.
I'm a baby boomer.
I curse you with a refined palate. You'll eat yourself into poverty.
We've moved the Overton window so that even the supposed left-wing party is so far right that corporations own everything and no one can afford to buy.
You'll be renting forever, Max.
Well, I seem to like these witches.
Well, Mummy, I don't see any problem with that.
Their magic is trickling down on the Salem.
So Winnie flies beside the truck as they drive away in the truck. Winnie flies beside it, and she's making cop jokes. Once again, how does she know what a cop is and what their lines are? She's like, oh, let me see your driver's permit and all that stuff.
Art thou talking of a constable?
Did she take time? Is there a deleted scene where she learns everything about 20th century culture?
Like in The Fifth Element, she just plugs into the
Click,
internet
click, click, yeah.
overnight.
I know jujitsu.
I know cop jokes.
His eyes were glazed.
I know every hacky 1980s comedy routine.
I know New Kids on the Block. Oh, she didn't make that joke.
That's us. We're just talking about ourselves.
Look, Neo, it's all there for you to learn. NKOTBSB. What's that? All you must do is take this pill.
Too many anagrams.
It's too long. It's the clunkiest anagram in the world.
NKOTBS.
And yet it's stuck in my head like glue. So, yeah, they run to the cemetery. They bump into Billy. And Billy, he just rips the stitches out of his mouth and he tells her off.
Pretty good little effect here where a bunch of moths fly out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Doug Jones
Yeah.
actually had to keep moths in his mouth and they,
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
It
That-
does surprise
that,
me
uh,
he's down for that.
Always stuck out to me as a kid was that just little like he does like a puff of dust and a moth out of his mouth. I was like, that is so gross, and it just gets the point across so well. He's all dried out inside.
He's so committed. I fucking love Doug Jones. So Winnie, she flies in, attacking them. Billy's like, go to hell. And she's like, I've been there. Quite lovely.
I like the devil.
And now she kicks off Billy's head, and she grabs Danny and tries to feed her the potion in the flask. And Binks jumps up, knocks it out of her hand. Max gets it.
Binks is a good cat.
Okay, this is another part I had a problem with. she's
Buckle
got
up.
She's got Danny, and she's like, I'll kill Danny if you don't return the flask. And Max is like, oh yeah? And then he drinks the potion, and for some reason Winifred spares Danny. She just like puts her down. He's like, I'll sacrifice myself for Danny. And it's like, why wouldn't she just kill Danny anyway?
And take him.
And why wouldn't you just dump the
Take
potion
them
out?
both.
Yeah.
Kill that girl.
That
Kill that
never
little girl.
occurred
You
to
wanted
me.
to kill
Yeah.
that little girl.
That never occurred to me when I was watching this. I was like, this is an ironclad plan. Max drinks the potion, so he has to be the kid to be sacrificed. Wow, they have to let Danny go. But no, now that you mention it, she should have just snapped both of their necks like they were chickens, and she was a farmhand, and she was going to bring them back to the cauldron to turn them into a potion. You know,
I just think this fucking script sucks.
in the witch, both their necks would have been snapped.
So she picks up Max and starts to swallow his soul. He kind of fights back and tries to knock her off the broom onto the hallowed ground, which is the graveyard. They say hollowed ground a lot in this. It's hallowed.
Thank you. Here we're at the big climax. It's exciting.
Yeah, Mary comes on her vacuum, and the kids pull the cord, which causes a collision, and all the witches crash into each other, and Winnie falls on her face. And she's like trying to get Max with her last breath, and she just kind of turns into a statue
Yeah,
for a second.
Yeah.
she turns into a statue. The
Kinda
sunlight
cool-looking
comes up.
Statue.
It's too late. They've run out of time. They had until the sunrise to get their potion into a child and eat the child. And so it's too late now. It was right on the cusp. It was like Minority Report, where the time bomb's ticking down. There's 2 seconds left. She was literally sucking Max's life out. And then the sun came up and turned her into like some kind of Medusa-type stone statue.
Mommy, she sucks pretty good. Not as good as you, Nancy.
She's the only one, though. The other 2 witches just explode into a puff of glitter.
Yeah, purple
Like
and green smoke or glitter or something.
And then this Bette Midler statue explodes into a puff
Yeah.
of glitter.
One by one, I was like, is the statue going to stay? No, it explodes into glitter. I was
Yeah.
like, what was that whole statue was pointless.
It was kind of a cool looking statue. It didn't really look that
could've-
much like Bette
could've
Midler.
stayed there.
But yeah, it should have. Yeah, it should have been
should've.
like permanent fixtures in the graveyard, like these 3 ugly, like the trolls in Lord of the Rings that get talked into the sun or whatever.
Look, Frodo, it's Mr. Bilbo's trolls.
Yeah, they should have been permanent. This is what happens to witches in Salem.
The greatest fireworks. The witches exploded in purple and green.
I want to hear more about Winifred.
Not me.
So that's that. They fucking blow up. Danny and Max, they're like, I love you. Oh, I love you. And there's brother-sister love here. He's looking at her cleavage. No,
Yeah.
wait, no, that's the wrong movie.
He clocks it. You know he does, but
Love
he
you,
doesn't mention
jerk
it.
face.
Maxwell, have thy popped wood whilst looking at cleavage. Tell me true, Maxwell.
Thou have a male's member. Danny says to him. It's pretty good. It's cute.
Billy just kind of yawns and he like gets ready to get cozy and go back into his grave, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, he's tucking himself in, pulling all the dirt over top of him.
Yeah, I like that.
They forgot about poor Binksy, though, who has now become actually dead. He got knocked from maybe 30 feet in the air by Winifred earlier and landed on the ground, and now that the witches are well and truly dead, all of their magics have gone away, and he's not immortal anymore, so he is going to be permanently killed.
Yeah, and Danny's broken up about it because she really liked Binksy.
Yeah,
But
she,
then
she thought they were going to be like her great grandkids were going to be taking care of Binksy.
oh, crack fiends. All
Even though they would have been fiending for crack,
Generation
hitting the pipe
of crack whores who can't pay their rent.
Binksy at the center of it all.
Even though their kids are learning street smarts from Bubbles on The Wire.
That's just the way the future goes, man. It's going to be a dystopia. We're all going to be crack whores.
But when you really think about it,
All your grandkids are going to be crack whores.
social media is the real drug, and we're all crack whores.
Oh, wow. That's very true.
I don't think it's PC to say crack whores anymore.
I like crack fiend.
The drug addicted whore.
Why is it every episode we cross some line that I shouldn't think should be, that I don't think we should cross?
I'm just too old.
Politically correctness.
I don't understand the words now. Okay?
Okay.
So Thackeray's back. Guess who's back?
Banks.
Thackeray's ghost.
He's a force ghost.
It's like, don't cry, Danny. I'm here to resolve the situation entirely.
I'm actually really happy to be dead.
Yeah.
I hated living as a cat.
I like going on the afterlife. Oh, there's my sister who died at the beginning of. We're bookending the movie. She is so happy to see me. Where have you been,
And
Thackeray?
Emily's still a little girl, which is brutal
Yeah.
for her. She's like a little girl forever.
Yeah,
Thackeray's still a kid, too, even though he's 200 years old.
Yeah.
He should have been a crypt keeper.
she's like Emily. Like,
Yeah, he should have been a
Thank you for
cryptid.
freeing me. My bones are falling apart.
man,
My joints are dust.
Emily is like Kirsten Dunst in Interview with a Vampire, just cursed to be a little girl for
Yeah.
20,000
You
centuries.
want to
while
at
she's-
least have gone through puberty before you.
get your vampirism or
Yeah.
your immortality, your jinx, whatever it is.
Yeah. So, they have a tearful goodbye in the dawn light to a swelling, triumphant score. I'm like, none of this is earned.
I shall always be with you.
And over
Great.
the end credits, we just get all the adults exhausted, leaving the town hall, and we get Bulk and Skull. They're still stuck. They're singing "Row, row, row your boat."
We don't know what happens to them.
Hilarious.
They could die in there. None of us have seen the sequel, so I bet in the sequel there's a scene where they go into there's like a couple skeletons in those cages or something, and like they died in between
That'd be
movies. That'd be pretty cool.
Now you're selling me on the sequel. If that's
Man,
what happens.
I am overselling it, I'm sure.
Well, that's hocus fucking pocus. So, I guess I will put it to my two co-ghosts. What did you think of these two movies? Which one did you like better?
Ooh, they're so spooky. I hope that it didn't scare our listeners off. Ooh, Hocus Pocus. Not as good as you remember it. The Witch. Masterpiece. It's really good. It's one of my favorite recent horror movies. I was very happy to revisit it. So that movie 100 times over watching this movie again.
Yeah. Like I said, Eggers is one of the filmmakers that I'm most excited to see a new movie of his come out. He is like a thrilling modern filmmaker to watch. Yeah, you couldn't give it to anything other than The Witch. But I actually did quite enjoy Hocus Pocus. I liked its take on the Salem mythology. I liked gave me some frights along the way. I was scared of the devil and the demons in it. And it was frightening, but not as frightening as The Witch. So I have to give it to The Witch.
Yeah, for me, obviously the choice is easy. I didn't love Hocus Pocus. I have no nostalgia for it, and I just want to very clearly say in no uncertain terms, I mean no offense. If you like Hocus Pocus, I'm very happy for you. I don't mean to take away from that at all. I'll just say it's not for me. It didn't make me laugh. It didn't charm me. It felt like a waste of talent behind and in front of the camera. But The Witch is, I think Witch is a masterpiece. I think it's a perfect movie, pretty much. I'd put it in the same annals of horror classics now as The Exorcist or what have you. It's fucking great. It's so lean. It's so tight. It's so quotable. It's just beautiful to look at. It gives you the perfect Halloween vibes. Like, if you haven't seen it, it's available for free on CBC Gem.
Oh, it's a total masterpiece.
Yeah.
Eggers hasn't missed yet.
No.
Every movie he's come out with has might classify every movie he's come out with as a masterpiece.
They're
actually.
fucking great.
Like,
He works in genre films.
yeah,
But he does it in Yeah, a
In his
pretty
unique
outstanding
style.
and modern way. But yeah, anyway, Hocus Pocus, not fucking terrible, not evil. I don't despise it or anything. There's just nothing there for me. But that's about my thoughts on today. So what are we doing next week there, Vonzo?
Oh, next week we're doing zombie movies. We're going to compare the classic George A. Romero, Dawn of the Dead, to an Italian knockoff by Umberto Lenzi. It's called Nightmare City, or in the U.S., City of the Walking Dead. So we're going to eat some brains. I hope everybody's ready to chow down.
Brains.
All right, well, thanks everybody for listening. If this is something you enjoyed, please rate, review, subscribe, share our podcast with any lowlives you might know. Until next time when we're going to Zombie Town, I'm Von Guziola.
I'm Mitch Hell McDisaac.
I'm Spook. Slow booed.
Scare you later. Ooh.
'Cause it's witchcraft, wicked witchcraft, and all